following is an exclusive presentation of Jefferson Pilot Sports.
Jerry DiNardo of Vanderbilt, last year's SEC Coach of the Year, looks to take his Commodores to the next level. Senior quarterback Marcus Wilson is dangerous out of Vandy's I-bone. In just 8 games as a junior, Wilson led the SEC in scoring. Gene Stallings has the Alabama Crimson Tide back into the nation's elite after 18 wins in 2 years. They're picked to win the SEC Western Division. Sophomore David Palmer is the league's most exciting player, returning kicks, rushing, and even taking snaps. A real game breaker. It's Bama's home opener, the Tide hosting Vanderbilt.
Jefferson Pilot Sports presents the best in regional college football. The Southeastern Conference. Today's game is brought to you by Ford and your local Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By the Jefferson Pilot Life Insurance Company. Stability is just one of our benefits. And by new Colders 29 and 29 Light. Cold aged at 29 degrees to seal in smoothness.
We welcome you to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Bryant-Denny Stadium is the home of the Crimson Tide. And today, it's Alabama hosting the Vanderbilt Commodores in the Southeastern Conference. Good afternoon, I'm Bob Carpenter. Welcome to a warm and muggy day in Tuscaloosa. Our pleasure to bring you Jefferson Pilot Sports' inaugural production of Southeastern Conference football. Alabama, high aspirations, 11-1, a bowl win a year ago, but the same for Vanderbilt as they won 4 of their last 5. At preseason training camp in Bell Buckle, Tennessee, the t-shirt said, "I buckled up, I'm ready to go to the next level." What does that mean? We'll call on Tim Foley. He's been covering this league for 9 years. What about it, Tim, for Jerry DiNardo and his Commodores? What is that next level?
Well, before I answer that, have you ever been to Bell Buckle?
We'll be going there very soon.
Well, for Jerry DiNardo, what that means is a winning season and a bowl bid, and they have made progress on the field, but this has not been a real hotly contested regional rivalry here. Vanderbilt's won twice in 35 years, but things have changed. They've made progress on the field, and last year, DiNardo and his staff went to work, and they ended up with the 17th ranked national recruiting. Well, they got good players now, Bob. They got real good players, and it's going to make a difference. They're going to have to hold on to the football to keep the ball away from Alabama's offense, because they've got a little defense. They want to keep them off the field.
Jerry DiNardo, Coach of the Year last year with a 5-6 record. Gene Stallings this year for Alabama actually knows who his quarterback is on opening day.
Jay Barker did a great job ending up the year for him. 4 consecutive wins. They've got a leader there, and they're going to replace Kevin Turner with Martin Houston, and they're looking to replace Saran Stacy with 3 running backs. Derek Lassick, Chris Anderson, look for Sherman Williams to play.
And they have a good defense as well after going number 3 in the nation defensively last year, number 5 overall in the country, and they have always had the great defense with guys like Copeland and Curry, the bookends on the defensive line. Tough assignment for Vanderbilt on opening day. They're talking national championship in Tuscaloosa. More coming up.
Ask anyone who's driven a Ford lately. Ask them about quality. It's one of the biggest reasons 5 of the 10 best-selling cars and trucks in America are Fords. The F-Series pickup, Taurus, Explorer, Escort, and Ranger. 5 out of 10 of the country's best sellers. It's quality that breeds success. Have you driven a Ford lately? It's more than just a question. It's an answer.
Welcome back to Alabama. In our opening shots, you saw a shot of the exciting sophomore out of Birmingham, David Palmer, the flanker for Alabama, but he does so many other things. Tough to keep track of him down on the field. We've given that very difficult assignment today to a guy with great foot speed of his own. Downstairs, here's Bob Kessling.
Okay, Bob, thanks very much. Of course, that's the big question down here. Will David Palmer play? Last week, he went to court to answer a drunk driving charge. As a first-time offender, he was given a youthful offender program situation he's got to be in. Now, Coach Stallings has said since the case is closed, basically, it's between he and David. So the question has been all week long, is David Palmer going to play? We can tell you that he did warm up today, and apparently he is going to play, but we won't know until he takes that opening kickoff. If he plays, it's good news for Alabama. Bob, if he doesn't play, or if he does play, that could be very bad news for Vanderbilt.
Especially if that Vanderbilt defense spends a lot of time on the field today. It's a warm, muggy day, Tim Foley, and that can be a factor as this one goes into the second half.
There's no question about it that Alabama has more depth, Bob, and they just need to keep Vanderbilt's defense off the field. Vandy has to maintain possession of the football.
Almost set for the opening kickoff. We'll be back in a moment after we pause for a word from your local stations. 70,123 at Bryant-Denny Stadium. This ball game has been sold out for months and months as Crimson Tide fans excited about that 11-1 record a year ago. Look forward to this one. That's Marcus Wilson, the senior quarterback of Vanderbilt. We haven't had much of a chance to talk about him yet. He's out of Butler High School in Louisville a couple of years ago, and last year as a junior, he led the SEC in scoring with 68 points in just 8 ball games. He's the guy that will make the I-bone go if it is to go against this Alabama defense. The Alabama captains, one of their versatile defensive performers, you saw in the middle there, George Teague, number 13, a senior right corner out of Montgomery, Alabama. The Crimson Tide, number 1 in the SEC in rushing last year and best against the rush, and they have dominated this series. It's been 84 since Vandy's last win. That's when they snuck down here and snuck out of Tuscaloosa with a victory, and Bama 30 out of 32. Partly cloudy skies overhead. We're in the low 80s. Wind should not be much of a factor. Look at that humidity. A 30% chance of showers in Alabama today. Vanderbilt will receive the opening kickoff. Jerry DiNardo, his second year after last year's 5-6. A former Notre Dame alum. He was on their national championship team of 1973. An All-American in 74. Michael Proctor, the freshman, will be the kicker for Alabama. He's got some pressure on him today. The deep man for Vanderbilt is Tony Jackson, who averaged 22 yards per return last year.
Proctor, a true freshman, it's going to be his first kickoff. This was not a strong part of Alabama's game last year. This will help.
This one is headed for the end zone, and it will not be run out by Tony Jackson. So the freshman off to a good start. Vanderbilt will set up its I-bone offense at its own 20-yard line. And the focus is Marcus Wilson. Last year, he passed for 51%. He averaged almost 4 yards a carry, 8 touchdowns on the ground, and 3 of them through the air. He threw 6 interceptions, though, out of Butler High School in Louisville. Three-man I-bone, and the give was a fake instead, and keeping it, Marcus Wilson out for good yardage on first down, out to the 25, maybe the 26. Wilson joined by Tony Jackson, who failed to return the kickoff a moment ago, Carlos Thomas, and then the front men. Pat Akis is the tight end. The offensive line averages 6'5", 267 across the front. Richard Sines, the center, an SEC all-freshman performer last year. He's out of Houston. Good yardage on first down for the Commodores. Now the deep man, straight ahead. It is Tony Jackson. First down for Vanderbilt as they move it out beyond the 34. Copeland and Curry, the bookends we talked about, flanking James Gregory, the junior out of St. Louis, the nose guard. They played the 3-4 with Hall, Morris, Oden, and the flamboyant Antonio London, the senior at that left outside, Langham, Shea Donnelly, and the very versatile George Teague at right corner. He also backs up at both safeties. First down for the Commodores. Fake to the fullback. Wilson keeping again. He's out to the 40-yard line. 3 consecutive plays, Tim Foley, of decent yardage for Vanderbilt.
Last year against Alabama, Vanderbilt rolled up over 400 yards, and only Florida accumulated more yardage against this stingy Gene Stallings, Bill Oliver, who's a defensive coordinator here at Alabama defense. And so Vanderbilt's going to move the ball. The question is whether their defense can stop Alabama.
6 yards on first down again, 2nd and 4 as the Commodores approach midfield. There's the pitch. And out to about the 47-yard line. Tony Jackson, who is out wide, and he's got the speed to do it. Had knee surgery a couple of years ago, or at least a knee injury that did not require surgery. That was a big break for Vanderbilt, and he can be dangerous outside.
Alabama very concerned about the fullback. Teague there forces the pitch. Jackson takes it outside. And, of course, Tony Jackson's job this year is try to replace Corey Harris, who was a 1,000-yard rusher last year for Vandy, now with the Houston Oilers.
Wilson giving it to the fullback Thomas. Nothing there. All over him. John Copeland, the left defensive end, with help from the nose tackle, James Gregory. They go 6'4", 271, 6'4", 290, 6'7", 265 across that defensive line. Copeland, Gregory, and Curry.
And there's John Copeland. And as I mentioned early on, John Copeland, I think, is just as effective as a defensive end as Eric Curry, who's a Lombardi semifinalist. Two excellent defensive ends.
Commodores on long yardage for the first time. Wilson for a loss. Back around the 46. Looked like the first man to get to him was Copeland.
See Wilson, fullback loading inside. They can't get rid of Copeland. He penetrates the mesh point and makes the play. Jerry DiNardo talked about his offense and how it really can't withstand negative yardage. They're going to work on trying to throw the ball more, but they hate to be in those must-pass situations, which this is.
Clarence Civilian, Eric Ware are the wide men. Wilson flushed out and sacked. About a 5-yard loss as Jeremy Nunley got him. Nunley a backup at both defensive end, a 6'5 junior, and the Vanderbilt offense stalls as Bama's defense comes up big.
They bring Nunley in the game, and so it's London, Curry, Copeland, and Nunley rushing. Not a bad job of protection by the Vanderbilt offensive line. Good coverage by the secondary. Wilson has no place to go. It results in a sack by Nunley.
David Lawrence, all SEC twice in his career. Chris Anderson, the deep man.
It's a fake.
And they fake it, and they're down inside the 30 as DiNardo goes showtime here on the very first series of the game. The man receiving the pass, cornerback Robert Davis, seeing action on the special team. A gain of 41 yards on 4th down.
All SEC punter David Lawrence zips it out to the side, and here we go. No one was around Robert Davis. He was ignored on the play. And when you're in a position like Vanderbilt's in, supposed to lose a football game, you can go ahead and take chances like that.
First down at the Alabama 17. First man through, fumble on the play. Alabama appears to have it at their own 14-yard line. Recovering the fumble, Lemansky Hall, the right outside linebacker. Coughing it up was Carlos Thomas.
Big play by a tough Alabama defense. Really respond to adversity. Carlos Thomas takes it up inside. It looked like John Copeland pulled it out coming around the side. Hall sees the loose ball, covers it. Big play for Alabama's defense.
Tied offensively now at their own 14-yard line with quarterback Jay Barker at the controls. Single back set, and the give is to the first man, Derek Lassick. He gets outside. He's beyond the 35, the 40, and brought down at midfield on Alabama's first offensive play. It took the secondary, Robbie Young and Tony Cates, to get him. A 35-yard gain.
A very patient job of running by Derek Lassick. Watch him use his blockers. Looks like there's no place to go. Great vision, good block by Kevin Lee cutting back there. He uses his downfield block there by Prince Wimbley, and big gain for Derek Lassick.
Tied with 3 wide receivers on first out at midfield. 2 plays dramatically changing the complexion of this game. Barker to throw. He's got a man, Prince Wimbley, on the right side, the flanker, and he's inside the 45. That'll be a gain of about 8 yards on first down. Ricky Melton, the inside linebacker, got him. Barker, only 5 starts last year, but he won all of them after taking over for Danny Woodson. Had a good blockbuster bowl against Colorado, 154 yards and 3 scores.
But the big game he had for Alabama last year, Bob, was against Tennessee when he came in the 4th quarter, and Jimmy Rayburn, our executive producer, didn't like hearing this, led him to victory against Tennessee.
Barker on a little bit of a draw. Lassick fighting for yardage, dancing his way to a first down. He appeared to have nothing, and he turned it into a first down. Lassick busy so far. Martin Houston the job of replacing number 24, Kevin Turner, and they've got a very talented, quick receiving core as well.
And you'll see a lot of them play this Saturday.
Offensive line averaging 6'4", 269. A veteran crew. Wilson a senior, Stevenson a sophomore, the rest all juniors. And the fullback Martin Houston with that carry on first down. 3-man front, Tony Cates, a transfer from Air Force. Gary Rogers, John DeWitt, the nose guard and right tackle. Quarles, Collins, Melton, and Francis are the outside linebackers and inside men. Robbie Young, Aaron Smith, a converted quarterback, Jeff Brothers at the free safety, and Robert Davis, who also returns punts at the right corner. 2nd and 10. We're 5 minutes and 40 seconds into the first quarter. No score. Barker, plenty of time. And out of bounds at the 26-yard line. Kevin Lee, the 6'1 junior out of Mobile. No pressure at all that time by the Vandy defense.
This time Vandy gives him an 8-man front look, 3 deep. Barker looking back into the sideline, working on Robbie Young a little bit, who is the sideline corner. Good catch by Kevin Lee.
And his backup, Curtis Brown, a sophomore, has checked in. Bama out of the eye. Deep man Lassick. Forget it. Commodores meeting him en masse at the 30-yard line, led by Ricky Melton, 96.
There you see Jerry DiNardo, the next Golden Domer, National Assistant Coach of the Year with Colorado. Disappointed that his gamble paid off, but didn't really produce any points.
And it was a very basic play on which his team fumbled it over to Gene Stallings' defense.
James Beebe Stallings got his feet planted firmly on the ground here after 11-1 last year.
Anderson and Houston in the backfield. They will block as Barker goes down the middle, and it's just beyond the reach of Steve Buskey, the tight end.
2 deep, Gerald Collins, middle linebacker. He's got to get back underneath that for Vandy. And Buskey just opens wide up in the beginning. Collins sees him, hustles to try to get there underneath, and takes a deep breath as Barker overshoots him here. Attention focused on the wide receivers. Collins hustling to get there. Jay Barker lets that one go a little too strong. Too much adrenaline.
He's 2 for 3, 21 yards. He faces a 3rd and 13. They've got to get down to almost the 6-yard line. He's flushed out of there. Finds time. And it's well over the top of Prince Wimbley, who is inside the 5-yard line. Good defense and a good quarterback pressure by Rico Francis, the right outside backer, and checking in Michael Proctor with his first collegiate field goal attempt. He was 53 out of 53 in extra points in high school and kicked 26 field goals, his longest 60 at Pelham, Alabama. This will be a 46-yard attempt, but he's got the ball spotted right in the middle.
Right, and it's going to be his first one in regulation off the grass. Let's see what happens.
It looks good. And he's got room to spare for an Alabama 3-0 lead. So one young player living up to his preseason billing so far. Tied 3, Vandy nothing. 8 minutes, 11 seconds to go, first quarter. The freshman has delivered Proctor a 46-yard field goal. No problem with no tee on the natural grass surface here at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
And that's been kind of a thorn in their side over the last couple of years after John Doyle left. They've been spoiled. They had Van Tiffen, John Doyle, and Michael Proctor keeps that up. They've solved the situation.
He put his first one into the end zone. This one a little shorter. Tony Jackson has it at the 3. He'll angle to the near side, and he'll be met head on. It looked like number 13, that secondary man, George Teague, with the big hit after a 16-yard return. The Alabama scoring drive took less than 3 minutes. 57 yards in 9 plays, 46 of them on the Proctor field goal.
Big run by Derek Lassick. Teague is really something. He's going to be fun to watch this afternoon. They got him playing cornerback this year instead of free safety.
Marcus Wilson faking to Thomas. Second man through, another fumble. Alabama has it. It's outside the 26-yard line. An Alabama man has the football, and it'll be another change of possession. Sam Shea, the backup right corner, got it after Eric Lewis was the man who coughed it up.
Try to dish it to the wingback here. It's like he runs into his own man, and the ball pops out. He runs into Eric Dahlberg, and the ball popped out.
Well, there's the coolest name in the ballpark today, Sam Shade. He had a fumble caused against Vanderbilt last year, and this year he picks one up. That play never got underway.
This is exactly what you don't want to have happen if you're Jerry DiNardo. Alabama jumped it. Don't make it any easier for them. If you're the underdog and you're coming in here and you're outmanned, you'd like to try to play a mistake-free game. You know that's not possible, but turnovers are just a major faux pas here. You just can't do that.
Especially after the confidence they showed in that very first drive. Barker for Lassick. He will cut outside, inside the 30. Wrapped up in the secondary by Robert Davis, the right corner. There's been a little controversy at Bryant-Denny Stadium about the field before the game today. Let's get an update from Bob Kessler.
Well, I guess their first game jitters for not only the players but the grounds crew. They mislined the field, and the $1 Million Alabama band found it out this morning when they were doing their pregame routine practicing. And so they had to move the hash marks this morning. You can see the ones they've got right now, the striped ones, those aren't the real ones. It's the little notch inside. And, Tim, that might mess up both secondaries.
Barker flushed out of there. And this one out on the left flat. Intended for Martin Houston, the fullback, who was out of there once the play sort of fell apart. Lassick now four runs for 40 yards after that first down run, and then Barker on the incompletion there. Good coverage by the Commodores.
What was the problem? Were they expecting the Atlanta Falcons in here, or what do you think the story was?
100 years of Alabama football, and they got a little excited about it. Bama started playing in 1892. Third down and 11 for the Tide as they split the backs. 3 receivers. Barker with time, looking left side in the end zone, and it's just beyond the reach of Curtis Brown with Robert Davis beaten on the play.
Kevin Lee was wide open down the middle. Jay is going to look at that film on Monday and say, please forgive me. There was nobody close to Kevin Lee down the middle. Of course, Curtis Brown was open, just a little bit overthrown.
Michael Proctor will have a 43-yarder here, but he's not in the middle. He's over toward that right hash mark. Well, he drills this one, and it is right through there. A 43-yarder with about 15 yards to spare. This kid is really drilling the ball so far. And the Tide takes a 6-0 lead with 7:02 to go in the first quarter. Now we'll pause for a word from your local stations. Well, maybe there's a future Tide place kicker. That's been the story of this game so far. Alabama 6-0 with just over 7 minutes to go first quarter. Michael Proctor, the star of this one so far.
We talked to Gene Stallings before the game. He was concerned about his high ranking when he had never had a guy. His field goal kicker hadn't kicked, punter hadn't punted. Well, he's found out about his field goal kicker, that's for sure.
That's his second of 3 kickoffs into the end zone. Tony Jackson wanted no part of that one. And suddenly this looms as a very important drive for the Commodores of Vanderbilt, as Gene Stallings' defense has come up with 2 turnovers, but they've only turned them into 2 field goals. So Vanderbilt hasn't exactly totally fallen apart yet. Scoring drive of -1 yard and a little less than a minute. 46-yard and 43-yard field goals by the freshman Michael Proctor. Vanderbilt needs a long drive, and they need to control the football. Marcus Wilson into the belly of the fullback. Then he keeps it. He was almost caught from behind as Eric Curry, the right end, came around and got a piece of him. It slowed him just a bit.
You think you could hear that coming, Bob?
Yes.
Look at this guy. Yeah, this is why he's a Lombardi semifinalist. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm out of here. See you later. Good job by Marcus Wilson turning that into a plus play.
Kind of like a feeling when you cross a railroad crossing. Now he'll give it to the tailback. And out beyond the 30-yard line is Tony Jackson. We'll update other games for you as we move into this afternoon. ACC action with the Tar Heels all over Wake so far. 14-3 early.
Marcus Wilson, I saw him lead Vanderbilt against LSU a couple of years ago, and in his first significant playing action. And last year he was injured a little bit in the spring and in preseason, and didn't start until midway through the season.
They're able to move the chains on that one. Wilson faking left, going right, and pulled down from behind. Good pursuit by Antonio London, number 55. Talk about a guy who is flamboyant. He says if he had his way, they would put showboating back into the game.
Well, I don't think he has Gene Stallings' job yet. Look at London coming around the corner there. He and Lemansky Hall do a wonderful job on the outside for Alabama. He's a big play man in Tullahoma, Tennessee.
Good yardage by the Commodores, though. That's 2nd and 3. And again, Jackson out around the 45-yard line. He had to get to the 43.5 for a first down. James Gregory, his 3rd tackle of the day already. And the Commodores move the chains once more.
And this is what you want out of that I-bone offense. Ball control, ball control, ball control. And if Marcus Wilson keeps making good decisions, they're going to move the ball on Alabama. They're probably better up front than they've been in a long time, Bob, with Signs in there at center. Even though Brothen is gone, who was the beast for him in the middle, Signs is filled in well.
The I-bone back to work. They were in a straight eye look that time. And nothing much just over the 45-yard line as Carlos Thomas was met by John Copeland and Eric Curry. The bookends collapsed on him there. And it'll be 2nd and long for the Commodores. Saw that Wake Forest score a moment ago. Vanderbilt will play Wake of the ACC on the 10th of October.
You know, Curry's a good story. He's a Proposition 48 guy, which means that he couldn't play his freshman year, but he graduated. He's a graduate student now. He graduated in 4 years. Good job, Eric Curry.
Wilson with plenty of time. A wobbly pass that's hanging up, and it's intercepted by Alabama. Number 43, Antonio Langham has it, the junior. First pass, first interception. Clarence Civilian was the intended receiver. Langham was 2nd in the league last year, only to teammate George Teague in interceptions.
Bill Oliver, the defensive coordinator, is also the secondary coach, and These guys at Alabama play the football in the air as well as any team I've seen in college since I've been doing this. Wilson lays it out there. Civilians covered, but most of the time a receiver can get back in it and take it away. Langham makes the interception, had 5 last year. That's 1 already this year.
And 3 turnovers already by the Commodores. 6-0 tie. Welcome back to Tuscaloosa. Turnovers and field goals. The story of this one so far is Vandy has fumbled it twice and thrown an interception, resulting in 2 Michael Proctor field goals, and now this possession coming up for Alabama. We haven't seen David Palmer yet. We'll get an update on that situation shortly as the Tide goes first down just inside its own 25. Parker with a deep drop. Time, left side, out there is Kevin Lee, and he is beyond midfield. A 27-yard gain on first down.
Kevin Lee finished 4th in the 55-meter SEC Indoor Championships. I mean, he's got great speed, and Robert Davis is giving him a little bit too much room. As he makes that catch, he's got to be hitting him, trying to shake it loose.
Good yardage again. This time it's Chris Anderson fighting his way inside the 35, down to about the 30-yard line as Aaron Smith finally was able to bring him down. Chris Anderson, a junior out of Huntsville, the backup to Lassick at tailback. It may take both of those guys to replace Saran Stacy.
Well, they have a tendency to rotate running backs here anyway, give guys a breather, and Anderson can go. He led this team in rushing as a true freshman, was the 4th in rushing last year, ripped off a 96-yarder on 1 attempt last year.
Right into the belly of the fullback, about the 30-yard line. We mentioned David Palmer. No action so far. Bob Kesselin, what's the story?
Well, Bob, so far there's been no official word on David Palmer. If you can see, he's right behind us wearing a baseball cap. Hasn't been in the game yet, and right now it doesn't look like he's going to play.
So he is suited up, but no action so far.
I like the way Gene handles these things. Gene's an old-fashioned guy. They ask him about it. He said, hey, it's none of your business. I'm going to do what I'm going to do with my team, and you'll find out later on. That's good. Way to go, Gene.
3 yards on first down for Alabama. We have a flag. The left defensive end might have jumped, or the outside linebacker, and that's the man who ends up pressuring the quarterback. Rico Francis was all over Jay Barker. Then another flag at the end of the play. I believe Francis was the man that jumped off that left side.
Flag on the play.
Rico out of Louisville, a junior.
He played for Mike Glazier at St. X High School in Louisville, starting strong safety last year.
No call on intentional grounding. Number 83 in the area. We have defense. Defensive team violation neutral zone. 5-yard penalty.
It's hard to admit you're wrong, isn't it, Jimmy? Especially in front of all those people.
Vanderbilt fans not happy about that. Their man called for offsides, but then no flag on the intentional grounding because there was a receiver in the area.
Buskey was over there. He looks big enough to be a lineman, I guess. So I can see where Jimmy would make that mistake.
Yeah, he's 6'6", 240. That's an understandable miscue.
Right.
Ball goes inside the 25. They'll be faced with a 2nd and a long 3. Lassick trying to get outside. Can't do it. Wrapped up beautifully by Vanderbilt's number 40. That was Gerald Collins, the linebacker, with a little help from the strong safety Aaron Smith. But Collins, the man who wrapped his arms around the ball carrier to make it happen.
Gerald was the 2nd leading tackler last year. Hurt his knee in the spring, but seems to be doing fine now. And Aaron Smith, the converted free safety, came up there and help on it. When you're taking on Derek Lassick, you don't want to be by yourself. You want to have all the people around you can get.
Loss of a yard. It's 3rd and 4 for the Tide. Parker, deep drop out to the right side and a little bit tall for Kevin Lee. Good defense by Robert Davis, the right corner of Vanderbilt. And Bama, one of the reasons that Michael Proctor's been so busy kicking, they're 0 for 3 in 3rd down conversions. So their offense hasn't exactly dominated this one so far. It's been a story of turnovers turning into field goals by this young man who's 2 for 2. This will be a 42-yard attempt near the left hash mark.
Talked to Hootie Ingram, the AD here at Alabama, and he said Proctor is just very quiet in practice. Looks like he's going to go to sleep all the time. Doesn't kick that much, but when he kicks, it's good.
He is perfect. How about this for a debut, folks? 46, 43, and 42-yard field goals in his first 13 minutes of collegiate action. Some guys have to wait half a season to get that many. And with 2:15 to go, first quarter, another Vanderbilt turnover results in 3 Alabama points, and the Tide leads at 9-0.
Let's watch Michael Proctor nail this one again. The defensive side of the ball. Head down, follow through, left arm straight. There you go. Good job. 9 points. He's going to be the leading scorer at Alabama this year.
There's his holder, 16, Jeff Wall. We got to give those guys some credit, too. The snapper is Johnny Howard, a senior tackle. So Howard, Wall, and Proctor finishing have been perfect so far. And Proctor will now kick off for the 4th time. He's put 2 of his 3 into the end zone so far. So really hard to get a reading on what Bama's doing offensively so far. Not much. Vanderbilt has done more than they have, but they've made the mistakes. Jackson to his 20 and diving forward out to the 22. That was a great job on special teams by the Crimson Tide. It looked like 17, Will Brown, and number 90, John Walters, fought off a blocker rather, and made the tackle. And there's the 3rd Bama scoring drive. Two minutes and 10 seconds to go. First quarter. Bob Carpenter, Tim Foley, our Jefferson Pilots production crew with you from Tuscaloosa. And we're very honored to bring you our first ever SEC football telecast. 9-0 Tide as the Commodores go to work. Deep man, straight ahead, good yardage for Tony Jackson. Jackson replacing the All-SEC performer Corey Harris. Jackson, his backup last year, only ran the ball 10 times for 39 yards, caught a couple of passes, returned kickoffs. He's out of Saginaw, Michigan.
Mike DeBose, the defensive line coach in Alabama, running his 2nd unit in there. They've got some substitutes in the secondary also.
Good yardage. They face a 2nd and 2. Jackson again trying to get outside, gets beyond the 30. He'll go for the first down out near the 35-yard line. He's finally hugged down by Chris Donnelly.
Chris Donnelly, of course, a former Vanderbilt player, was the SEC Freshman of the Year a few years ago, actually in 1989. Was hurt in 1990 and was disenchanted and decided he wanted to go someplace else, and ended up here at Alabama, worked on the scout squad last year. Now he's working his way into the starting lineup.
Wilson still has it after the fake. He couldn't get it outside, and he'll fall ahead over the 40-yard line. Eric Oden, or the Tide that got him there. Well, this town has been bubbling with excitement. Impossible to get to the stadium this morning. Foley, Kessling, and Carpenter hopped out of the car about 3 blocks from the stadium and said, "We're hoofing it."
That's it, man. We put on our wings and we flew here.
And that
was Jimmy here yet?
That was 2.5 hours before game time. Could not get to the stadium. We're in the last 45 seconds now of the first quarter. Wilson looks at Jackson, gives it to him, and forget it. All over him. Michael Rogers, the left inside linebacker. Damian Jeffries helping out as well. Jeffries, the 3rd man on the depth chart at right end behind Eric Curry and Jeremy Nunley, and he came up big on that play.
Rogers got some playing time last year and was almost the designated man to replace John Sullins, who's a former Alabama great here and now with the Denver Broncos. But Mario Morris came back and really in good shape. So created a competitive situation at that left linebacker spot, which made better players out of both of them, probably.
3rd down and 6. Fullback has it. Fumble. It's on the ground. Hard to tell who has it. Tide claiming they do, and it's Vanderbilt's 4th turnover of the game, their 3rd fumble. Lemansky Hall coming up with his 2nd fumble recovery of the day. Carlos Thomas coughed it up, and John Copeland caused the fumble. As Palmer watches, it's 9-0 Tide. And many expect Alabama to be in that SEC championship game. They lead 9-0 here. Big play by John Copeland of Alabama a moment ago. We'll show it to you in a moment after the Tide operates offensively. First down just outside the Vandy 40. Out to the left flat and trying to run before he actually had control was Curtis Brown.
Let's watch John Copeland at work. Number 94. Gets rid of the blocker, closes on a fullback, and just pulls Carlos Thomas's arm down, and the ball comes out. John Copeland was a junior college player, came in here last year at a Hines Junior College. He's coached there by Parker Dykes, and just was a tremendous asset last year and seems to have improved yet even more.
He was a JC All-American in Hines, and now it's 2nd and 10 for the Tide. Back split, short drop, Barker right up the middle. And we had a little activity going on there. Looked like Gerald Collins wrapping up Tony Johnson.
Okay, there's one thing you have to learn about me, Bob. I don't believe in pass interference. I think it's a useless rule. They should be thrown out. Let's see what happens here. But I mean, that was not.
SEC has Cruz working this year.
Interference, defensive team, 15 yards of previous play, first down.
Gerald Collins, the man, grabbing on to the tight end.
This was not there. Jay expected it to be there because it's been there the whole day. But that ball was uncatchable. Yeah, now that was a break for Jay, and I'm glad to see you get a break, Jay, but that ball was not catchable.
1st and 10 for the Tide, and what we mean by Cruz, as SEC officiating crews will stay together week to week this year. They won't mix and match them like they did in years past. 26-yard line, first down Tide, pitch out to the deep man, and running hard was Prince Wimbley, a flanker, who was out there at that deep I-back position in the pro-I set of Bama.
And we talked about Antonio London and his pursuit and Eric Curry and his pursuit. Watch Shelton Quarles here, number 31. This is Vanderbilt's best defensive player. Just a fantastic athlete, number 31. Watch him come through here. Fights through the block of Tony Johnson. Good pursuit. Assists on the tackle. That rascal led Vandy in tackles 2 years ago, and he only played in 6 games.
Did the same thing in high school at Whites Creek in Nashville. Nothing much there for Derek Lassett. Tide tried a little misdirection there in the backfield, and the Commodores were not fooled. Gerald Collins, 40, Robert Young, number 9, the left inside backer, the left cornerback, respectively, helping out on that. Vanderbilt last year gave up 208 yards rushing a game, but they were 2nd best against the pass in the SEC with 161 per game. It's now 3rd and 10, Alabama. They've got 3 wide receivers. Barker, plenty of time, overthrows a man, intercepted. Aaron Smith, the strong safety.
Great job of disguise by the Vandy secondary. Jay Barker comes to the line of scrimmage. It looks like he's got the slot. He looks like he's wide open. As the ball was snapped, Brothers clapped from one side, Aaron Smith from the other side. Barker forced to throw it away from Brothers. See, the weak safety slid over there. He tried to throw it to the outside, but he missed Kevin Lee, and Aaron Smith comes up with the interception, the young man from Troy, Ohio. Great play by Vanderbilt's defense. They've really stepped up to the plate. They've been put in some difficult situations, and they've only given up 9 points. I mean, in the past, this Hummer could have been 28-0 real easy.
You are right about that. We're 90 seconds into the second quarter as Vanderbilt operates, and it looks like the right side went offside. Pat Akes, the tight end, number 49, the man who went shooting across the line of scrimmage.
Dead ball, violation, neutral zone, offensive team, 5-yard penalty.
Alabama concerned about its offense. They're getting together over there.
It's Larry Kirksey, the young man without the hat on the right.
Coaches the running backs.
Looks like Danny Pearman. He's the new coach at Alabama this year.
He handles the offensive tackles. Jim Fuller, the guards and centers, and Woody McCorvey, the receivers. Gene Stallings does not have a true offensive coordinator as North Carolina continues to romp in the ACC. Tony Jackson, the deep man, just fighting his way out to the 9-yard line.
Last year, Alabama was plus 14 in turnover ratios. That means they got the ball 14 more times than they gave it up. In the first half, they're plus 4. No. Now we're down to plus 3.
Yep.
After the interception, plus 3.
4 takeaways, 1 giveaway for the Tide. Clemson ranked number 13, non-conference game against Ball State of the Mid-American Conference. 2nd and 12, just inside the 10. Marcus Wilson. Nobody there. Broken play, and he will be sacked by Curry back at the 6-yard line. It was like Wilson said, "I've got it," and everybody else said, "I don't want it." And they all vacated the premises.
If you saw Eric Curry running at you, you're going to put your hand up? You're going to volunteer? Curry fights off the blocker. Marcus Wilson comes to the line of scrimmage, and they call directions from the line of scrimmage. After he calls directions, Alabama is shifting the defense. That time, I think he tried to get them out of a bad play, and there was some confusion.
Jerry DiNardo wanted to avoid gambling situations today. His offense faces 3rd and 17. Wilson in his own end zone. Out to the left side and well up over the top of Clarence Civilian out around the 35-yard line. Pretty tight defense by Sam Shade. He had some secondary help by the left corner, Tommy Johnson. Vanderbilt unable to get the passing game going. Marcus Wilson 0 for 2, and they'll have to kick it away. Their punter is an outstanding one. David Lawrence, the 2-time All-SEC performer.
Vanderbilt's passing game works best when their run game is working well and it's a run-pass situation.
Tide might be coming here. A 10-man front. Anderson to receive it, and they've got the block inside the 5-yard line, and Alabama will get great field position as George Teague was into the end zone after the kicker. Another nightmare play for Jerry DiNardo, and this time Alabama looks like an odds-on favorite to get it into the end zone.
Teague coming out around the outside. Nobody really got a piece of him. David Lawrence very alertly tried to pull it back and reload, but Teague knocked the ball out, and that ended everything. And here we go.
Fullback into the line. Terrence Lynch, a sophomore from Town Creek, Alabama. And there's David Palmer, who's the most talented cheerleader on the field today. He's got more moves than any of them, but he hasn't played so far. Terrence Lynch, who backs up Martin Houston, Craig Harris at the fullback. And
Stallings has to be proud of his defense, Bob. Really playing well. And last year, it was his defense that kept him in most of the football games they played.
2nd and goal at the 4. They've got Harris in a wingback. Lassick is back there. He's the man with the football, trying to go to the pylon. Far side, touchdown, Alabama. Derek Lassick, who ran for 2 touchdowns as a junior, finally gets the Tide into the end zone.
Martin Houston leading the way. John Clay, good upfield, no scrape. Like somebody kind of grabbing a hold of Rico Francis there at the close of that play, but good force, got the back running laterally, and there was no scrape in the defensive secondary.
Michael Proctor has never missed an extra point. 53 in high school and 1 here in the collegiate ranks. 16-0 Alabama. Bill Curry's Kentucky Wildcats returned 17 starters from last year, and of course, Steve Spurrier replaces Shane Matthews, a great bevy of running backs, and it's Florida hosting Kentucky, Florida Field. 12:30 next Saturday, 11:30 for you folks in the Central Time Zone on these Jefferson Pilot sports stations.
Kentucky.
The announcers for this game are selected and compensated by Jefferson Pilot Sports. This broadcast a copyright presentation. Any use of this broadcast without the express permission of the Southeastern Conference and Jefferson Pilot Sports is prohibited. Ricky Melton, the starting right inside linebacker, the man hurt for the Commodores of Vanderbilt, and the way they're taking him off and how long it took to get him up on his feet. His return in doubt right now. Steve Brazil, a 6'2 sophomore out of Shalimar, Florida, is the backup at right inside backer.
And that's one of the problems that Vanderbilt has as a team. There aren't a lot of places where they can replace somebody. And Ricky is a fine linebacker, played behind Rod Keith last year and worked his way into a starting assignment this year.
Alabama first down. Barker plenty of time. Up over the top and getting it on the near sideline. Kevin Lee out of bounds at the 20. Robbie Young trying to stay with him, and he didn't do a bad job. But Jay Barker had that one delivered right on the spot.
I'm sure up to this time in his performance, Jay hasn't been real happy with his selections, and he's overshot a couple, but this was right on the money. Robbie Young's in good shape. He's not in bad shape, but Jay puts it right on the nose, right over the outside shoulder. Great job. And there's a lot of people that Kevin Lee's going to run away from this year.
Out of that great Vigor High School program in Mobile, Alabama. He's a junior. And on first down, just a yard or two for Craig Harris, the fullback, who backs up Martin Houston. They've got three of them, as we told you. Harris, the senior. Martin Houston, a senior. And their sophomore, the man of the future, Terrence Lynch. We've seen him for a couple of snaps as well. It'll be second, about 9.5 for the Tide, up 16-0. Lee with 3 catches, 78 yards so far. And barreling his way is Houston down to the 13-yard line.
You know, lost in all this has been our pre-game meetings about following the nose guard. You know, Vanderbilt has got a linebacker playing nose guard, Gary Rogers, and he's in there replacing Lewis Woolridge. Moved him back to the outside now. They've gone with 4 defensive linemen. Just good power running and good movement by the Vanderbilt offensive line. I mean, the Alabama offensive line. Stevenson and Harville and Shields, right side.
Bama 0 for 4 on third down. Williams in motion. Barker fumbles the ball as he was hit, and picking it up, the man who caused it, Rico Francis. A huge play by the junior out of Louisville, who moved from strong safety to linebacker in the spring. Rico's doing whatever he can to get his teammates fired up after he made the big play.
Rico coming around the outside. Barker doesn't sense him. He pulls it back down. Good coverage by the Vanderbilt secondary, and then he doesn't sense Rico coming. Rico came up with a big play last year for them. He intercepted a pass against SMU, took it back for a touchdown. Turned out to be the margin of victory for him against the Mustangs. Big play by the Vandy defense.
7:21 to go. First half, Vanderbilt shut out offensively. Of course, they've done it themselves. Eric Lewis on that one. He's the wingback, a sophomore out of Oxford, Alabama. Vanderbilt has about a half dozen players on its roster from the state of Alabama. Lewis, 4,500 yards in high school with 51 touchdowns his last 2 years from Mumford High School in Oxford. He got a couple on the play, 2nd and 8. Deep man, Tony Jackson. Curry gambled on the sack and the takeaway. And then finally, George Teague throws him down back at the 5-yard line. Forward motion will be well ahead of that, of course, out at about the 20.5-yard line. But good pressure by Curry and a good finish by George Teague.
Last year, they graduated half of their secondary at Alabama, Stacey Harrison and Mark McMillan. McMillan stuck with the Eagles, and they took George Teague, who led the SEC in interceptions last year, was 6 from free safety back to corner. Now, he played corner before, and he can play them all back there.
3rd and 9.5 for the Commodores. Single back set. Wilson flushed out of there, and he is sacked by Michael Rogers, the left inside linebacker. 3rd sack by the Alabama defense today. Rogers, just a redshirt sophomore. And another kicking situation for the Commodores. They'll be kicking this one down inside their own 5-yard line. 5:34 to go before halftime.
Somebody should whisper in David Lawrence's ear to hurry up on this one, because if we'll watch number 13, George Teague. If he starts sliding in, nope, it's a return.
Yeah, they got the return set up. Nice tight spiral. This one will drive Chris Anderson back to his own 35. Good play to wrap him up there. On special teams, out at the 45-yard line, ball was coughed up. Alabama will keep it. But Robert Davis, the man on special teams, number 11, provided the pressure after that punt that hung in the air for 3.8 seconds. 5:08, timeout on the field. Alabama 16, Vandy nothing. First half, Tuscaloosa. Vanderbilt lost a linebacker to injury just a few minutes ago. Bob Kessling, what's up with Ricky Milton?
Well, the doctors say he has suffered a concussion. They don't expect him to return, and for a defense that's short on depth, that's a big blow for him.
As they walk him off, Steve Brazil, 44, a sophomore out of Shalimar, Florida, who only made 17 tackles as a freshman, will be the man they call upon at right inside linebacker, right next to Gerald Collins.
And Brazil's capable, but I think that's the end of the road at linebacker.
Dancing his way through for some yardage, Derek Lassick.
You see a change in style when you watch Derek Lassick. He used to be just a power runner, as we see Gary Rogers, the Vanderbilt's nosebacker, being assisted off the field.
This is not a deep ball club. His backup is Derek Beaucier, a 6'1 junior, who started 4 games as a sophomore last year at defensive end. 2nd and 6 for the Tide. Barker looking out to the right side. Little out pattern. Curtis Brown, the intended receiver. It looked like a simple pattern because Barker was watching Brown the entire time. Just threw it well over him.
Just a little quick hitch. What happens to a cornerback sometimes when somebody catches it over their head, they drift back and they're less apt to attack a pattern. And Robbie Young had Kevin Lee beat him deep, and so now he's playing a little bit looser.
Barker, only his 6th game started as a collegian. Facing a 3rd down. Tide 0 for 5 in 3rd down situations. And a little shovel pass. That'll be incomplete. Nearly intercepted.
Pass goes incomplete.
Mal Moore, the offensive coordinator here at Alabama, trying to mix it up. And I think what they're trying to do is give Jay things that he can do in the degree of difficulty isn't significant, and they're trying to build his confidence because they need a solid performance out of him on a week-by-week basis.
First punt for Brian Deal. He gets a little yardage out of it as it finally spirals down inside the 18-yard line. Jeff Brothers on the receiving end there, and Vanderbilt will take over after a 33-yard kick. And the man who almost intercepted that, by the way, that little shovel pass, Tim, was 56 of Vanderbilt. James Manley, a backup freshman defensive tackle. They almost got a big play, but they will get possession. Okay. You saw Gary Rogers go off as well. Bob Kessling, what's up with him?
They say he just overheated, so they've taken him to the locker room before everybody else so they can just ice him down a little bit, cool him off. They hope he can play in the second half, but the heat is pretty terrific on the sidelines.
No air conditioning on that Vanderbilt sideline either. Marcus Wilson pulled down from behind. John Copeland, the 6'4 senior. All-SEC last year. He's got an All-SEC season started in good fashion here today. Wilson now 9 rushes, 21 yards. Negative yardage on that one. It'll be 2nd and 12.
They're resting Antonio London on defense. Alabama is. They've got Will Brown in there. He's a backup from Syracuse. Tommy Johnson now is spelling Teague at the corner, but Teague has moved over to free safety.
And the give is to the fullback, Carlos Thomas. He breaks out around the 30-yard line. It appears he had first down yardage. He had to get to just short of the 29. Mario Mares from linebacker to get him.
Good tough running here by Carlos Thomas. He led Vanderbilt in rushing his freshman year and sophomore year, and then was, although finished 2nd in rushing last year, was delegated to more of a blocking responsibility for Corey Harris. But a tough kid, just a good team player. 209 pounds, you'd like your fullback to be bigger than that.
George Teague thought he was big enough on that play. He ran right over the right corner. They're showing strong side right are the Commodores. They will run it off the right side, but nothing there for Tony Jackson as Lemansky Hall from right outside linebacker got him with some help from Derek Oden. So they got the first down and then lost 3. Hall is out of Valley, Alabama. He moved from strong safety to that outside linebacker, so some good speed on the flank by the Tide. And Carlos Thomas, after that tough run, looks a little tired and overheated himself. 2:28 to go before halftime. Second man through. That's 22. The wingback, Eric Lewis. George Teague up from right corner on the stop. A 4-yard gain. But Vanderbilt has not been anywhere near scoring territory. They've been across midfield. In fact, on their very first possession, they were deep in Bama territory. But a Carlos Thomas fumble stalled that drive, and it's been Alabama ever since.
He penetrated one more time. They had an interception. Great play by Antonio Langham. And here we have 3rd and long.
They're 0 for 5. Wilson passing is 0 for 4. Penetration, they set up the screen. Tony Jackson has it. He is out to the 40 and does have the first down. He had to get beyond the 39. The quarterback was pressured by Nunley. They let him come on through, and then Wilson executed the screen very nicely.
Going to try to do something to slow Alabama down. Nice play by Wilson. He gets it up. Now watch Richard Signs. If you can see that block there, that clears the way for Jackson, and he gets a first down. First 3rd down conversion for Vandy.
That's a pretty well-placed pass right over the shoulder pad of offensive guard Ryan Bell, who is in their lead blocking on 3rd down. Clock down to 1:26. Vanderbilt really needs some sort of score before halftime. They trail 16-0. And now Marcus Wilson wants a timeout with 1:16 to go.
Marcus wants to talk to Jerry DiNardo and Don Freeze, the offensive coordinator, make sure that they're on the same page. They don't want any mental miscues here. They want to make sure that he's thinking the right thing, and he wants to be certain. Well, Gene Stallings is feeling a little bit better since we were here the last time anyway. Gee was 11-0 last year, 5th place finish in the national polls. First time I met him, they'd lost 3 in a row, and it was a difficult time for him, but he and his coaching staff get their feet on the ground. They went out and brought some good players in here, guys that could play. Last year they had the youngest team in the top 25 last year, so it's a good group of teachers that he has assembled here, and they got his personality. They're all a little crusty and rugged.
Yeah.
Of course, Jerry DiNardo, as you mentioned, 5 and 6 SEC Coach of the Year. Well, you bet when he got this team believing and playing well, and they made a lot of progress last year regardless of their record, and he's got to be a little bit concerned about his offense's lack of productivity so far this afternoon.
He might need another shirt for the second half. Vanderbilt in the eyebow. Wingback has it. Eric Lewis again.
Lewis at right guard.
He's out to the 45-yard line, and watch the action of left end John Copeland.
Number 94, John Copeland, lined up there. They try to double team him. Pat Akos, everybody leading on him, and he just kind of slides right through it all and makes a play. Excellent against the run, and hard at work at becoming a better pass rusher, although he's good.
Here's a reverse. Nothing doing. Eric Weir, the backup split end, came around to receive the pitch, and Antonio London, number 55, the senior, snuffed that one out. Of course, London made his name last year when he blocked those 3 straight field goals against Tennessee, Mississippi State, and LSU. He says if he was a coach, and you alluded earlier to the fact that he hasn't taken over for Gene Stallings just yet, but he says, if I was coach, we'd never practice. And you know, with Alabama, we've got to do something.
How long do you think he'd be there?
About a week.
Yeah.
You know, we've got to do something, Tim, to get those Auburn folks fired up for that November 26th game at Birmingham. London's, I guess, most primary quote is, when you hang around Tuscaloosa, you never say War Eagle. So you Auburn folks can file that one away, and we'll see you in 2.5 months. It is a hot day. Humidity up in the 80s, temperature as well.
But see, Alabama has the luxury to be able to substitute players in there. And Vanderbilt, as of this point in their development, really doesn't have that luxury yet. If they did much substituting, they'd be putting people in there that really weren't quite sure what to do yet, because they are so young and raw. They have 4 true freshmen backing up the offensive line. On defense, they have 4 out of 5 freshmen between their defensive line and their outside linebackers. 3rd and 13 for Marcus Wilson. Out to the left side, and this will be over midfield. First down territory as Vanderbilt gets it to Clarence Civilian, their senior out of Flint, Michigan. They've got a couple of timeouts left. 21 seconds to go before the half. Little delay route underneath. Chris Donnelly had read it. He was sitting there, just played the ball incorrectly. Civilian came back underneath and made the catch. Carlos Thomas has come off hurt. So now 17 seconds left as Wilson wastes a play to get things set up. But just a moment ago, after that pass play, Carlos Thomas came off the field clutching at his side. So we'll have to check on him. You got Royce Love in there, a true freshman from East Chicago, Indiana, getting his first action of his career at Vandy. 2nd and 10. Commodores send 2 men down the right side. Wilson has no time at all to look at him, as Jeremy Nunley was the first man to get him. Now 4 sacks by the Bama defense. They sacked 26 times their opponents last year, and the second by Nunley. And Mike DeBose, when he talks about Nunley, I mean, he said he's just as, well, he may not be just as good, but he doesn't feel bad when Nunley's in the game as opposed to Curry and Copeland. You know, they've got three strong defensive ends. And then when you put Nunley next to Andre Royal, who may be their quickest guy off the ball, it's a tough job. Keep him out. First half for Marcus Wilson, 2 of 7, 29 yards with an interception. His offense has coughed it up 3 times. They've had a kick botched. And realistically, Tim Foley, they are very fortunate to be down by only 16 points. It's the wrist of Carlos Thomas that they're checking on, and that is a tough injury for a guy who does a lot of blocking. Yes, it is, and he's been a super fullback for him over the years. 4th year as a starter, and he's not a big guy, so you know he's taken a beating. Real strong character, real fighter in there. And you're right. Jerry DiNardo goes into the halftime down 16-0, and a little bit relieved that that's all it is, based on the way his offense has played in the first half. Will Wilson air it out? Last play with 1 second to go. He will throw it long down the middle. The Tide has it covered, and the ball is intercepted back inside the 15-yard line by Chris Donnelly, number 21, the former Vanderbilt free safety. That's it for the first half. Alabama turns turnovers into 3 field goals in the first quarter. A short touchdown drive in the second quarter, and the Tide
projected to win the Western Division of the Southeastern Conference, leads at 16-0. Down to the field, Bob Kessling.
Well, they're feeling down here on the Vanderbilt sideline. They're just trying to look for something good to happen. They've had 3 players now hurt. Of course, depth has always been one of the big concerns. Their other big concern coming into the game, the turnovers. They've had plenty of that. Things have gone very well for Alabama so far in the first half. We're at halftime with the Tide leading here in Tuscaloosa. And we'll be back with more halftime in just a moment.
The SEC Game of the Week is brought to you by Ford and your local Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By the Jefferson Pilot Life Insurance Company. Stability is just one of our benefits. And by new Colders 29 and 29 Light. Cold aged at 29 degrees to seal in smoothness.
Time in Tuscaloosa at Bryant-Denny Stadium, where the Alabama Crimson Tide and Vanderbilt are opening the 1992 SEC football season. This will be a year to remember in the conference. For the first time in history, the SEC has expanded. Now there are 12 teams divided into 2 6-team divisions. In the East, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and one of the new members, the South Carolina Gamecocks. Over in the Western Division, headed up by Alabama, Mississippi State, LSU, Auburn, Arkansas, and Ole Miss. The 2 divisional winners will meet on December the 5th for the SEC Championship in Birmingham. The league is filled with outstanding players. Alabama's dangerous, multi-dimensional David Palmer, the sophomore from Birmingham, started only 5 games, yet made the SEC All-Freshman team. He set a school record, returning 3 punts for touchdowns during the regular season and added 1 more in the Blockbuster Bowl. David Palmer, a Heisman Trophy candidate from Alabama. A new addition to the league, Arkansas wideout Ron Dickerson. The senior wide receiver averaged 15 yards per reception and scored 4 touchdowns. A former running back, he is a legitimate threat as one of the league's best wide receivers. The Auburn Tigers boast of All-American tight end Fred Baxter, a big target at 6'4", 240. The senior teams with veteran quarterback Stan White, giving the Tigers a potent passing threat. Baxter also might be the best blocker in the offensive line for the Tigers, also a Major League Baseball prospect as a first baseman. Georgia is equally proud of its passing tandem of sophomore quarterback Eric Zier and junior wide receiver Andre Hastings. Zier made quite a mark, earning Freshman of the Year honors for the Bulldogs, and Hastings is his favorite receiver, averaging 14 yards per reception. Mississippi State's title hopes rest on quarterback Sleepy Robinson's shoulders. He's a versatile performer. He can play quarterback or sometimes wide receiver or tailback. Sleepy Robinson trying to take Mississippi State to the next level. On display here in Tuscaloosa today, versatile quarterback Marcus Wilson of Vanderbilt. He runs the I-bone attack and has turned Vanderbilt into a contender for SEC honors. He accounted for 14 touchdowns last year and has made Vanderbilt's offense one of the most dangerous in the Southeastern Conference. The best kicker in the SEC, senior Doug Pelfrey of Kentucky. This 53-yarder beat Cincinnati 20-17 on the last play of the game. And the defending SEC champion Florida Gators returned 2 potent offensive threats. Junior running back Eric Rett led the SEC in rushing last year. Only the 4th Gator to rush for over 1,000 yards in a single season. And the Gators are led offensively by 2-time Player of the Year in the SEC quarterback Shane Matthews. Last year, Matthews finished 5th in the balloting for the Heisman Trophy and figures to be a leading candidate for that award this year. Last season, Matthews threw 28 touchdown passes, leading the Gators' fun and gun offense. For his career, he's completed 60% of his passes and owns 21 school records for the Florida Gators. Shane Matthews gunning for his 3rd straight SEC Player of the Year honor. And we'll continue at halftime here at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa in just a moment. In 1892, the University of Alabama fielded its first football team, and they won their first game 56-0. The winning tradition is carried on for 100 years. 11 national titles, 19 SEC crowns. The great coaches like Bear Bryant and Frank Thomas, to the present, Gene Stallings, who has brought national championship dreams back to Tuscaloosa. Alabama celebrates the great players like Ozzie Newsome, to the present Tide stars like David Palmer. Alabama in his 100th year of football is leading Vanderbilt in the opening game 16-0. The gentleman that has helped put together this year-long celebration is Hootie Ingram, the athletics director at Alabama. It has been a situation where this entire state has really embraced this 100-year.
Well, they really have, and we've had the opportunity to bring back a lot of memories and a lot of great players, and we tried to include everybody, including the fans, and everybody had a big part in Alabama football.
Talk about the big party you had here at on the quadrangle.
Well, we had about 40,000 at the game, and they estimated we had 70,000 on the quadrangle, and had a lot of former players. We probably had more former players back than any occasion we've ever had.
And this has been long in the planning, so it's one thing that a lot of things have gone into this too.
Well, Dr. Sayers appointed a committee about 2 years ago, and we've been working on it for at least 18 months prior to the start of the A-Day game last year, and it'll run through this season.
Think about it, there's been a black tie gala. There's also a video, an extensive video coming out celebrating 100 years of Alabama, and all the proceeds go to the General Scholarship Fund here.
Well, we've got 2 books and a lot of other little deals going, but we are happy that all the funds that we make from this will go to the Academic General Scholarship Fund.
Let's talk about the situation at Alabama, too. The fun is back here in football. People are talking national championships. Gene Stalling has done a terrific job.
Well, Gene and his staff, they've come in here, and it's amazing what they've done in 2 years, how they've kind of turned it around. The personnel's a lot better. They've recruited well, and I believe you can tell by the crowd today that the people are pretty excited.
Talk about the split divisions, and now from an athletics director standpoint, this is the first day of the season. What's your general impressions of how the fans have reacted to the new divisional split?
Well, I've been amazed how the people have reacted to the East-West division. I think the good part is that preseason we talk about a lot more teams because they're talking about who's leading the East and who's leading the West, and I think that's good for all the schools to get recognition. It's a unique situation, and the playoff game should be exciting, and I don't know what it'll be like. We'll all wait and see.
I think that's what everybody's saying. Also, you show a lot of courage wearing that jacket down here today. It's hot.
Oh, it's a little chilly out here.
Hootie, thanks a lot. Congratulations on a great party.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Hootie Ingram, the athletics director at Alabama. The Tide leads Vanderbilt at halftime, 60-0. Back to check scores in just a moment. 100th year of football, celebrating at halftime as well, leading the Vanderbilt Commodores by a score of 16-0. The Alabama $1 Million Band is performing on the field, delighting this crowd that is sun-baked to say the least. This is a new member of the Alabama Band, Tom Emmons from Bruton, Alabama. He's a freshman, and the thing that makes him special, he's blind, yet he marches in the marching band. In fact, he's been in the marching band in high school and in junior high school. He's been in the band for the past 7 years, but making his debut today here at Alabama and part of the $1 Million Band. We're at halftime again. Alabama leading. I'm Bob Kessling. Glad you're with us today to open up the Southeastern Conference football season. Now it's time to check the scoreboard. This is the Jefferson Pilot scoreboard, brought to you by Jefferson Pilot Life Insurance Company. Stability is just one of our benefits. Not many afternoon games yet that have started. North Carolina leads Wake Forest. That's in the third quarter, 21-10. Clemson at halftime leads Ball State 10-0. All SEC teams are in action either later this afternoon or tonight, with the exception of the Florida Gators, and we'll have updates on those scores as we go along this afternoon. But right now in Tuscaloosa, our score is Alabama 16 and Vanderbilt nothing. To call the second half of today's game, let's go back up to Tim Foley and Bob Carpenter.
Thank you, Bob Kessling. $1 Million Band completing their activities on the field, and the field has been a place for turnovers today in the first half of this ball game. We'll have a look at our forward halftime statistics, and Vanderbilt actually moved the football pretty well, although most of their passing yards came on that fake punt, and then the turnovers took over from there, Tim Foley, and because of that, they've had the edge in time of possession, but the edge in little else.
That's exactly right. For a while, it was hard to run 3 plays and punt for them, and I know it was a discouraging performance, because when they were able to keep the ball in their grasp while they were running, they moved the ball in the first quarter. But the significant number there is 5 turnovers. You just can't walk into this Bryant-Denny Stadium and a 21-point underdog and turn it over 5 times.
3 fumbles, an interception, and a botched punt. Second half coming up as the Tide leads the Commodores 16-0 back from Tuscaloosa.
Jefferson Pilot Sports exclusive coverage of SEC football is brought to you by Lowe's, helping add value to your home. And by Nationwide Insurance. Check the yellow pages for a nationwide agent nearest you.
$70,000 on hand. Bryant-Denny Stadium, Tuscaloosa. They've seen a rather strange first half here. A first half without a whole lot of rhythm. Bob Carpenter, Tim Foley upstairs. Not quite as hot up here as it is down there. We'll keep Bob Kessling alive for you the rest of the day. But, Tim, the heat of factor and turnovers, the big factor in this first half.
I think heat in terms of Vanderbilt's depth. But the thing that really bothered them was their inability to control the ball early. You know, they just kept giving it to Alabama, and eventually their offense took advantage of field position. It was on the 6-yard line, and 16-0. They're fortunate that it's 16-0. They just want to try to regroup and get back to their game plan, I think.
Offense, defense, balance, always a great story of Alabama football over the years. And they've got another good tailback. He may not be as good as Saran Stacy, but they've got some talent back there, as Lassick got it done after they got the ball down deep.
This was after the fourth turnover. They turned it over after it wasn't a botched punt, I guess isn't a turnover, but they gave it to him on a 6-yard line. Same thing if you're on defense, and Alabama sticks it into the end zone. And you're right, Derek Lassick has really evolved as a running back. Used to just be a power and batter him, but now he's a lot more clever. Broken play here, and Marcus Wilson is going to remember number 80 for a while, Eric Curry. He's been in his face all day. His numbers aren't good in passing, Marcus Wilson, but it's not really his fault because he's never really been able to set up. As soon as he sets up, there's red jerseys in his face. Now there's Jerry DiNardo. I mean, he didn't give him a bedtime story at halftime. Jerry's pretty intense, and losing is one thing. He can come out of here with a loss and still move his program ahead. But he didn't want to be embarrassed. And offensively, the performance in the first half, I'm sure, was extremely disheartening for him. And he probably relayed that to his Commodore team.
Well, this was a big one for Vanderbilt, opening on the road. They've got Duke at home next week, then Ole Miss at home as they continue the SEC schedule. And they go to Auburn, host Wake, go to Georgia. They upset that Georgia club last year in that winning streak. Alabama, after this one this week, plays Southern Mississippi in Birmingham next week, and then goes to a very difficult little place to play on a Saturday, Little Rock, to face those Arkansas Razorbacks. And we welcome those folks from Arkansas and from South Carolina to the Southeastern Conference. It's two great programs that have been plugged into the league this year, resulting in the two 6-team divisions, culminating in that exciting December championship game up in Birmingham.
Seems to be some discussion down on the field as to who won the toss and who made the choice as far as that goes at the beginning of the game. Gene's given him his opinion, can you tell?
I had to laugh at one of the newspaper columnists' picture of Gene Stallings the other day, sort of painting him as a hero coming out of the Old West to ride in on the white horse with the white hat on and save the Alabama program from the, at least in the minds of these folks who are used to such high standards, mediocrity that they had run into a bit. And it certainly was a struggle his first year. But last year, 11-1, the win over Colorado in the Blockbuster Bowl. After that rather embarrassing loss to Louisville 2 years ago in the Fiesta. They put that behind them and came up with a big 1991.
He's got 4 daughters. Now, after you saw that look he was giving Jim Harper, would you bring one of his daughters home late?
No, sir. And I'd be picking her up with a smile on my face, too. There's Marcus Wilson. He had a tough first half for Vanderbilt. I think the thing that says the most about Stallings as a person is the sign that hangs in his office that says, never confuse activities with accomplishments. Results are what count. So that means you can practice well, but you better do it on Saturday.
That's exactly right.
And this freshman has done it. Michael Proctor to kick it off. 3 field goals in the first quarter. And he line drives one down to the 2-yard line. Tony Jackson angles to the left side. He's beyond the 25, breaks it at the 35, and out to about the 47-yard line before he was finally pulled down by Antonio Langham with action on the special team. A 45-yard return may be the lift Vandy needed out of that locker room.
Well, the special teams certainly haven't helped them so far on this Saturday afternoon. Jackson takes it upfield. Good blocking here and makes a nice move on Proctor. Well, that doesn't make it quite as nice a move, but it was still a good move. Good job of running.
Wilson a fake to the fullback. He'll keep it around the left end, and Antonio London will wrap him up.
Great job by the outside linebacker from Tullahoma. What you want to do is, if you're in that position where you're not responsible for the pitch, pursue right down the line of scrimmage. A lot of guys take a bad angle. Of course, he's fast enough. I guess he could take a bad angle and still get there.
2-yard gain. Wilson to Jackson. He will crash down to the 45 as they get across midfield, and they'll have about 3rd down and 2 coming up as Langham came up from cornerback. Derek Oden from free safety in on the stop.
Antonio Langham.
You know, you can let the rhythm of a game get away from you if you're Alabama. If you're not careful, every time the other team's got the ball, they're giving it to you, and you can start thinking that it's over. And at 16-0, it's really not over.
They stay in the I-bone, 3rd and 2. Wilson has to improvise. He has the first down inside the 40. It looked like he wanted to sneak outside. He saw quickly with good recognition that there was nothing out there, and he used his cut to get straight ahead.
Well, he's riding Royce Love in there, and Copeland just penetrated upfield, and he knew that outside path was now eliminated, and he used his head and his instincts and took it back up inside.
Not much there running so far. Fullback has it. Royce Love, the freshman out of East Chicago, Indiana Central High School. He was considered the number 2 prospect in the nation at fullback a year ago.
And there's not too many guys that you bring in as a blocker, but he played the I-bone in high school.
And his other 2 teammates in the backfield each rushed for over 1,000 yards, so he obviously did it very well.
Photogenic memory this boy has.
2nd down and 8. Vandy on the move, but can they sustain it? 2nd man through. That's the wingback, Eric Lewis. Copeland wraps him up with the ball inside the 35 of Alabama.
Last year, the wingback for Vandy, there was a couple of them playing. The last one that finished started was Derek Payne, but carried the ball 19 times, so that's twice a game. They've carried it a little bit more in this particular game. Antonio London sliding over, fights off the block of Ryan Bell.
And there you see
Copeland makes a tackle.
Yeah, and he's the guy that is still down on the turf.
You want to go for it? New scores, ladies and gentlemen. Halftime. Clemson 10. Ball State nothing.
See if we can run that replay back again. Talk to our producer Tom Hewlett, hard at work down there.
Well, what we will do is take this time out for a quick break and bring you back to Tuscaloosa. Tied 16-zip. Welcome back to Tuscaloosa. Bob Carpenter, Tim Foley. Jefferson Pilot Sports production of Southeastern Conference football. John Copeland appeared to take a shot to the neck. Looks like he's got an ice pack back there. Vanderbilt will try to get the first down inside the 30-yard line as Marcus Wilson on the keeper is very close.
Let's watch John Copeland here. Looks like Eric Lucid takes a shot there, and you can see he loses his grip, and let's just hope he'll be fine. It might be a pinched nerve in his neck.
There's his backup, junior end, Jeremy Nunley out of Winchester, Tennessee.
And they don't lose much when he's in there. Nunley is a real performer.
Andy did get the first down. Nothing much happening on that play. It'll go for little if any yardage. Royce Love, the fullback, on the carry, and Derek Oden with help from Mario Morris on the tackle.
Nunley in there with 73 reminds me of Bob Baumhauer, who was an All-American here, and I'm not really sure what number he wore. He wore here at Alabama, but he wore 73 for the Dolphins, and the Dolphins have really benefited from the players produced by this program here in Tuscaloosa. You got Dwight Stevenson, probably one of the best centers in football, Bob Baumhauer, Don McNeil, Tony Nathan. Great players from Miami.
2nd and 9, wingback through inside the 20 and diving ahead near first down yardage, Eric Lewis. He's got the first down. Vanderbilt, its best drive of the day, and Jerry DiNardo needed this one.
And George Teague is slow getting up. No, it's not. It's Antonio Langham. Opens up inside. Mario Morris got to stay home and wait for that one, and you can see Langham got hit in the side of the head. It's a different little look. They're giving it to the wingback coming through. Trying to get those linebackers running out of there and hitting it in behind them with the wingback. And Langham got hit in the side of the head, and that's where you start to hear things.
Well, you called that one right, Tim, because Wilson was rolling out to the left and then appeared to sort of do a half turn with his left hand and gave the ball behind him to the trailing wingback, who went straight up the middle. He and Langham collided. Vanderbilt will move the chains once more, and they'll be just inside the 18-yard line.
Antonio Langham. Bill Oliver doesn't have a lot of defensive backs to use back there. Langham is backed up by Tommy Johnson, who's had some activity already today. Willie Gaston would actually be next, and he's a Prop 48 guy out of Mobile, Alabama. Gene Stallings looks on. Injuries is always something that, of course, you can't control and you're always concerned about, especially when you're talking about the quality of player of Antonio Langham,
who has 5 tackles, an interception, and a fumble recovered in this game.
There's Tommy Johnson. He's a sophomore out of Niceville, Florida. He returned an interception, 92 yards last year for a touchdown. Against Tulane.
Yeah, against Tulane. And had 4 tackles against Vanderbilt. He knows these Commodores. Bama crowd making some noise on first down. The fullback, Royce Love. Maybe down around the 15-yard line. This is uncharted territory for the Commodores today. They've only been down this deep once. That was after the fake punt paid off in a long first down. But a Carlos Thomas fumble stopped him, and they've never been back this deep since. 4 minutes and 20 seconds into the third quarter. Alabama 16, Vanderbilt nothing. It's 2nd and 9. And a timeout has been called.
Well,
looks like Alabama.
Too many players on the field. Good decision. Called timeout. Clean it up.
So Derek Oden will go over and talk it over with their defensive coaches. Third quarter action continues after we pause for a word from your local stations. Play number 10 of the Vanderbilt drive, 2nd and 9. The wingback stopped cold, Eric Lewis. Derek Oden was there to make the stop.
Tried to stick it in behind the pursuit. This is a tough team when it comes to pursuit. Derek Oden, defensive captain, along with George Teague, makes a stop here. Good fill by Mario Morris, backside. Odom stays home. London closes it down, and of course Curry back there.
Now it's 3rd down and 7. Wilson getting around, left side, inside the 10. He is close to first down territory, might be a little short. He needed 7 yards. Donnelly and Oden on the stop. He had to get to the 7.5-yard line for the 1st and goal. And another Alabama player is down.
It's Chris Donnelly came up, made that stop. A nice hit. And he was having a little bit of a problem on a previous play as Jimmy Harper takes timeout.
Despite all the problems by Vanderbilt's turnovers, if they score here and get the extra point, they're only down by 9. Well, the Kentucky Wildcats are opening their season against Central Michigan in Lexington today, but they'll be at Florida Field for the Gators' home opener next Saturday. Our cameras will be there, 12:30 Eastern Time, 11:30 in the Central Time Zone for the Wildcats and the Gators. Florida favored to win the Eastern Division of the Southeastern Conference.
Last year, Kentucky gave them all they could handle in that game down in Gainesville. Let's watch the end of this play. Mario Morris fights off a blocker, closes on it, and here comes Conley.
They did get the first down. First and goal from the 7 for Vanderbilt. Their most serious scoring threat of the game. Wilson has it. Rolling out right side. Down to the 6-yard line. Stopped cold by the left inside backer, Michael Rogers.
They tried to sneak Pat Akos back against the flow, but the Alabama, well prepared, was not fooled. Wilson takes it now, and he sees that Akos is covered. Now he's got to go with it. And he's, hey, Pat, block somebody. Well, he might have taken one of them, but there was too many folks running around there.
Second and goal from the 6. Bama's defense impressive in the touchdown allowed department. Wilson sacked behind the line. Eric Curry. His second sack of the day. And that one will push the ball out beyond the 10.
Curry takes the fullback, comes over the fullback, and takes Wilson. Yeah. Okay, I got my left hand occupied. Let me use my right hand. We're going to get the other guy.
Maybe Vanderbilt's most important play of the game coming up here. Third and goal from the 10. They're down by 16. A field goal doesn't do them a whole lot of good here. A Bama player jumped. Pass into the end zone is incomplete. There is a flag at the 10. It looks like Eric Curry, the right end of Bama, was the man who came across the line of scrimmage.
In these passing...
Defensive team, offside, 5-yard penalty. Defensive team.
In these passing situations, they get Curry in there on the outside along with Andre Royal. Now they're bringing Rogers back in because now it's, in terms of Vanderbilt, it's a run-pass situation. 5 yards to go.
Eric Lewis is checked back in. Third and goal from the 5 after the 5-yard penalty. To the fullback, to the end zone, touchdown Vanderbilt. Royce Love right up the middle. And they got what they needed at the culmination of this long, impressive drive. 6 points, not 3.
Now this was a surprise, right? And it surprised Alabama a little bit too, I think. 3rd and 5, give it to the fullback. They give it to this bulldozer rascal from East Chicago, Indiana, and bango, into the end zone. Let's see it again. Good job by the front there, closing down Vincent and Mike Sell. Create some room for them. But I just don't think the Alabama defense expected a fullback to get the ball on 3rd and 5, and now it looks like they're going for 2.
Yeah, this is an awfully long huddle for an extra point. Robbie Chura is not on the field. They'll line up in the I-bone and go for 2, trying to make it 16-8. Tony Jackson, the motion man. Wilson to the wingback, and they get the 2 as Eric Lewis dives in. An impressive 14-play rushing drive by Jerry DiNardo's Vanderbilt Commodores, capped capped off by an Eric Lewis 2-point conversion. Folks, it's a brand new ball game here in Tuscaloosa. 7:53, third quarter, 16-8. Well, the fortunes have certainly changed, as have the emotions for the Vanderbilt Commodore followers on the heels of a 14-play drive, all runs, and Lewis for 2.
And Jerry DiNardo makes the decision, as long as we're down here, let's try to get as much as we can, and bango, they knock it in. And this was standard fare. They decided to quit messing around with the pass. They were doing well with the run, and they didn't shoot themselves in the foot. They didn't fumble the ball. They hung on to the football, blocked Alabama, and the runners made good decisions, and now it's 16-8. This game could have been 35-0 in the first half, and you know, it can get away from you emotionally. But now it's 16-8, and it's a ball game.
14 plays, 53 yards, a 7-minute drive. All 14 plays were running plays. Robbie Chura will kick it off. Kevin Lee is deep for Alabama. Anderson and Williams as well. They're 3 tailbacks. And it is Lee. And he runs into a clothesline out at about the 15-yard line on a big hit by Derek Griffin. Griffin, a tailback, only a freshman out of Chicago, and that was a very tough play on Kevin Lee.
Kevin Lee, great job. He grabbed onto the top of Kevin Lee's jersey. It wasn't the helmet.
Kickers always love it when they don't have to tackle anybody. First down, just beyond the 15. Parker, a short completion. Good gang tackling by the Vanderbilt Commodores. And on the receiving end was the tailback, Derek Lassick.
Rico Francis, Jeff Brothers, Gerald Collins looks to be okay. Seen as Gary Rogers back in at nose or not? Check with our spotter Kim Anderson and see what he. Yep, there he is.
Out there. 41.
Thanks, Dave.
Commodores trying to pile it up. They go ahead to Martin Houston, the senior fullback, and he's taken down by Aaron Smith. Alabama now the team getting beaten up since halftime. Bob Kessling, how about the update?
With the air conditioners on the sideline, Alabama is having some problems with the heat themselves. Antonio Langham got hit in the head. He is still dizzy. Don't know if he'll come back. Chris Donnelly in the middle of the field on the bench here is being iced down. He's got leg cramps. They're not sure if he can come back. Derek Lassick's had problems with cramps as well. They're trying to get as much fluid into the players as they can because it's so hot down here.
Alabama 0 for 6 third down plays, and they might be 0 for 7. It was 3rd and 2, and that one went nowhere for the fullback, Martin Houston. They had to get out, Tim, almost to the 28-yard line. It looks like they're a good yard short.
Well, that was the elephant backfield. They had Terrence Lynch and Martin Houston in the football game. As Tommy Harper puts that fist into the air, that means 4th down. Good play by Gary Rogers.
My, how this game has changed. Brian Deal to punt it away. Jeff Brothers, a junior free safety, and this is a beautiful spiral down to the 26-yard line. Fans were hollering for a clip. No flags on the play as they get the return out to the 40-yard line. Greg Harris helping out on special teams with a stop. Jeff Brothers, an outstanding return. A sophomore quarterback last year, but he gave way to Marcus Wilson.
Now Brothers is back there, and last year when Vandy played Alabama, it was Brothers at quarterback. Now the crowd was booing because of a clip, and they decided it was inconsequential contact. The guy that really hit the Bama player hit him from the front.
Tony Jackson's kickoff return got the other drive started. We'll see if this return can start another drive for Vanderbilt. Deep man in the eye. There's Jackson. Maybe a yard. Collapsing on him, Michael Rogers, number 52, the left inside linebacker. Of course, they're trying to replace John Sullins in there, who is with the Denver Broncos in the NFL. Rogers, just a redshirt sophomore.
Eric Turner is in the backfield for Alabama. He's a true freshman. But he's in there at strong safety, getting his first action. He's only had 7 or 8 practices on defense even.
Fullback, Royce Love. He's out to about the 45-yard line.
They made 3 yards.
Royce Love, a big load. When you got a defense that's as quick as Alabama, what you try to do is take advantage of their strength. If their strength is quickness, give them something and try to let them run themselves out of a play and try to get in behind them. In this series, Alabama they sat down on the fullback.
3rd and 5. Wilson, forget it. Crimson Tide coming up big defensively. John Copeland, the first to arrive. Andre Royal, 36, a reserve left outside linebacker who backs up Antonio London, number 36 there as well. Vanderbilt has just rushed the ball for the 17th consecutive time, but this will be a 3-play drive before the kick.
4:16 left in the 3rd quarter. No fumbles, no pass interceptions. Conservative game plan. Don't put us in trouble.
A lot more rhythm to the game. Chris Anderson back to get the high far kick at his 14. He gambled a little on the return, and he gets it out to the 23, maybe the 24-yard line. A 44-yard kick by David Lawrence, the all-time All-SEC performer 2 times in his career. And so Alabama, 1st and 10 at its own 23 with just under 4 minutes to go. 3rd quarter tied on top, 16-8. But remember, the only touchdown they've scored today was when they got the ball 6 yards from the end zone.
8-man front for Vanderbilt.
Parker, just a little look in there. Eric Lassick on the receiving end. And a little late tackle after the whistle, as he got tied up with Rico Francis, the right outside linebacker.
Children at play. Just a little zone route on 1st down. 2 inside receivers coming down and hooking. Sideline patterns by the outside guys. Barker just pops Lassick. That's the way they started their last possession also.
Your performance, or your assessment, Tim, of the Jay Barker performance so far?
Well, I think that Jay would be not excited about what happened in the first half. He had a couple of wide open receivers that he missed, and at times the selection wasn't that good, but he's coming along.
We've got a flag in the backfield as Barker waits for time. Often that will signal holding as the quarterback starts moving around, and it appears that Roosevelt Patterson was the guy who was talking to the official. It also might have been on Matt Hammond, the left tackle.
We also have to remember about Jay Barker as we look at this sack that he only played 1 year quarterback in high school. This is a pretty new position to him. Good job by Vandy's defense. Barker's got to pull it back down and gives those defensive guys. Tony Cates takes a swipe, and Quarles takes a swipe.
Personal foul.
Finally, DeWitt brings him down.
Line. Penalty is declined.
Aha.
Yo, that's Patterson and for Alabama, and Gary Rogers going at it. It's a left. It's a right.
It's a penalty. 3rd and 13. That's not what Alabama needed. They've got to get out to the 33-yard line now, and they have been awful on 3rd down today. 0 for 7. Back to the 10, Barker drops. Short route. Lassick gets away from one man. He's got the 1st down. Not very good containment by the Vanderbilt secondary as Robbie Young had him wrapped up, but he let him get away. Gerald Collins was also out there trying to help out.
Well, Ricky Melton is still hurt. This is Steve Brazile. Barker looks to his left. Now he finds Lassick open in the side. Now that's where you want him to throw the ball. That's where now make the tackle. Make the tackle again. You know, I mean, you had 2 opportunities to tackle the rascal before he got to the 1st down yardage.
It was a big play on 3rd down, and Anderson coming to the near side. Chris out to maybe the 41-yard line, so that'll be a gain of about 3.5 or so. Out of bounds he goes, stopping the clock. 2:41 to go, 3rd quarter. Alabama trying to answer the Vanderbilt drive with one of its own. A long Alabama drive would do a couple of damaging things to Jerry DiNardo's defense. First of all, possibly giving up points and keeping them out there on a long, hot, humid day. On 2nd and 7. Barker has a man on the near side. That's Curtis Brown. They'll move the chains again.
Curtis Brown. It's that nice little 10-yard turnout. Robbie Young closes, knocks him out of bounds. Good rhythm for Barker on that one.
Brown, the nephew of former NFL wide receiver Charlie Brown. 1st and 10 at the 49, tied into Commodore territory. Barker, little out pattern to the tight end, and that's Steve Buskey. Robert Davis has to bring down the big 6'6", 240 senior out of Suitland, Maryland.
Barker gets him into the right play. Good decision here. He found the open man, put it right on the money. Buskey makes the catch, and now Robert Davis comes off of his coverage responsibility to upend Steve Buskey.
Other games, and look at this. Ball State, the Cardinals hanging tough. That's at Death Valley. Clemson, number 13 in the preseason poll. North Carolina having its way with Wake today. Barker looking long, end zone, and he overthrows Kevin Lee. Robbie Young on pass defense, but Barker put that one out of anybody's reach. He's now 9 for 19. And DiNardo pacing as his defense faces 3rd and 1. Alabama had one of those free plays on 2nd and short, and they went for 6.
Now they take their nose backer, Gary Rogers, out of the game. Try to get a little bit more meat in there. Short yardage situation.
Axer split. Fullback Houston. 1st down to about the 37-yard line. So the drive continues as Martin Houston, who backed up great Kevin Turner.
Now, one of the objectives as Vanderbilt started the year on defense was to eliminate the big plays, and with the exception of a couple, you had a long catch by Lee and a long run by Lassick. They've done a good job. Make them earn their way down the field.
90 seconds to go, 3rd quarter. Barker looking again for the tight end, Buskey. He was trying to split that seam down the middle.
Well, obviously Mal Moore, who's the offensive coordinator at Alabama, has told Barker that the middle of the field looks good. And Quarles that time was running underneath and didn't really give Barker a lot of room to put it in. Aaron Smith was reacting back, but they've been trying to work the middle of the field against the double zone. Last time they did it, they had an interference call. Quarles was in good shape there.
Barker completing 45% of his passes so far.
The tight end was moving.
Emma getting wide open here. Toward the left corner, and it's beyond the reach. Dabo Swinney. Aaron Smith on the coverage.
Now let's watch this. We'll show you the whole deal, and it's a double zone. See those two guys in the back? Their responsibility is deep third. Barker's looking at the tight end, running down the middle of your screen, draws the attention of the safety. He eventually goes off him to Dabo Swinney, and again, just a few inches too much thrust on the ball.
Now it's 3rd and 10. He's in trouble, dumps it off to Houston, who breaks 2 tackles, still on his feet. Just no yardage to be gained out there.
Now that was nifty. Coach, I can be a tailback. Put me in a tailback. I would be a 240-pound tailback, but that was pretty slick looking.
It was pretty slick of Jay Barker to get rid of the football as well and get the completion. He had 3 Commodores zeroing in on him. And we will have a 52-yard attempt coming up for Michael Proctor, who once kicked a 60-yarder in high school.
Good pressure by Vandy. A couple of misses. Finally get him nailed. Here comes Michael Proctor.
52-yarder. It is just a little short. He had it on target. But as Gene Stalling says, in high school, you've got a T kicking over 6-foot linemen. In college, no T, and you're kicking over 6'6" linemen. Quite a difference.
Yeah, and there are a few more people watching.
Yeah.
You know, your mom, your dad, all your relatives. It's a little tough.
Sun blazing overhead. 23 seconds to go on a hot, muggy day in Tuscaloosa. And it's 16-8 Alabama, as Vanderbilt has a chance now with possession to get right back in it.
That little defense for Vanderbilt is really holding up well. They've made the plays when they have had to, and the Alabama offense have let a couple of opportunities slip away from them.
Marcus Wilson at the controls. Third man through, Tony Jackson, and saying hello to him right in the middle was big number 91. That is Damian Jeffries, who spells Eric Curry, at right end. Jeffries, a sophomore out of Sylacauga, Alabama. And that will be the end of the third quarter. Vanderbilt did not throw a pass in 15 minutes. They had a 14-play rushing drive for a score, and they trailed by only 8. This one has turned out to be a lot tougher than Alabama folks would have thought 1 quarter ago. They were celebrating a 16-0 halftime lead. Vanderbilt with an impressive touchdown drive. They have the ball, and they trail 16-8 with 15 long minutes to go here in Tuscaloosa. Bob Carpenter, Tim Foley, Jefferson Pilot Sports, SEC football. Second down, 12 from the 32 of Vandy. Wilson fakes a draw, quarterback keeper, cuts up the middle. He'll get near midfield, out to the 45, maybe the 46-yard line. He had to get to the 45 for the first down. It appears he's made it as they've run their 19th consecutive rushing play.
The pass has just not been a successful thing for him this afternoon. They got sacked. Wilson never had a chance. Look at the linebackers react to it. A good job of blocking, and then an intelligent job of running by Marcus Wilson. First down, big play.
Fake to the fullback. Quarterback keeping and wrapping his arms around him. That big paw of Eric Curry came up and knocked down the QB. Statistics evening up after the end of 3 quarters. Vanderbilt a 52-yard rushing edge. Alabama a 67-yard passing edge, but the total yards very close.
We also have to remember this is the first live action against an opponent of the season, so they're going to be a little rusty.
Second down 10. Second man, wing back, out to midfield. Eric Lewis.
He's a converted fullback. Last year, the wingback was just a light guy at the end of the year. Derek Payne, 170 pounds. Now they've got a fullback in there, a better blocker and a more effective runner up the middle. And when you go up the middle and you weigh 160 pounds, they grab you by a letter on your name and throw you down. So this guy's going to be a little bit more significant at 200 pounds hitting it in there.
3rd and 5. Vanderbilt 5 out of 11 on third down conversions. Wilson with time. Right sideline. Forget it. Up over the top of Eric Weir. Tommy Johnson, the backup left corner, defending, and that breaks the string of 21 consecutive rushes.
Well, they ought to go back to 20 more in a row.
4th and 5, Tim. Is there a decision to be made here, or is it too early?
I don't think so. I think they're going to punt it away. The idea is let's back them up. Now understand that this game started off, in case you joined us late, with on their first punting situation, David Lawrence threw the ball for a first down. Alabama has people out there covering that now.
He will kick it this time. Bama, no return. And Vanderbilt will grab it way down there. Number 11, Robert Davis, downing it, and Bama will have a long way to go after the 45-yard kick. They lead by 8. Welcome back to Tuscaloosa. 13:03 to go. Alabama deep in its own territory. at the 6-yard line. First down. Barker in his own end zone. Looking left, right, nothing there. Breaks the tackle, and he'll turn it into about an 8-yard gain. Good athletic ability by the sophomore out of Trussville, Alabama.
Let's watch Vandy's nose backer, Gary Rogers. You know, he's 112 pounds going into the year. I mean, he's just scrapping away. I'll get him, I'll get him, I'll get him. He finally tracks him down. Great hustle. Chappie Oliver's done a wonderful job developing this defensive line here at Vandy.
Second down and 1. Barker will give it to Houston, the fullback. First down. He's beyond the 25 before he's stopped. A couple of pretty impressive plays by the Crimson Tide. First, Jay Barker, who ran the wishbone in high school, and then his fullback, Martin Houston. Houston has already graduated with a marketing degree. He's in grad school for human resource management. He managed a couple of linebackers pretty well right here.
Vandy's defense playing without Melton. Inside linebackers coached by Carl Reese. Outside guys by Bill Elias. Secondary by Ron Case. They've done a fine job.
Little pass underneath. Chris Anderson. Rico Francis on the coverage. So Alabama out of trouble back in the shadow of its own goalposts. In 3 plays, they've moved it from the 6 out to the 35.5.
Just a zone route. Vanderbilt staying in a zone, trying to protect against the Alabama speed on the outside. And so this one is just Chris Anderson comes down, finds a hole, turns around. Barker pops him. 5 or 6 yard gain.
They'll call it 7. It'll be 2nd and 3. Houston eludes a man, and he has the Vanderbilt line collapse on him. There was good penetration by Steve Brazil, who's spelling the injured Ricky Melton at right inside linebacker. 39 was in there pretty quickly as well. Rico Francis, the outside man on the right side. There's an upset brewing. High expectations in the Big Ten for John Cooper's Buckeyes, but the Cardinals of Schnellenberger on top by 3 at the moment.
One of the best coaches in the nation, unquestionably, Howard Schnellenberger.
Has a habit of putting programs on the map. Alabama 2 for 10 on 3rd down. Out into the flat. And off to the races over midfield. Down to the 35-yard line is Prince Wimbley, the senior out of Southridge High School in Miami.
It's a lonely land. The life of a cornerback, and that's what was going on. Wimbley and Davis out there all by themselves. Just a quick set, read inside. Barker rifles it out there. Now Wimbley off to the race a little bit. Hope his family is fine. They lost their home in Hurricane Andrew.
And out to the left side. 85, Curtis Brown on the receiving end.
Good hit by Robbie Young. Nice catch by Curtis Brown. Good timing route. That's as good as you're going to do on that route. Unless you overplay it, you're going to be getting there as the ball is getting there. A little bit better vision inside. Now, pow! And work to get it out.
Barker's percentage improving. He's now 13 for 25, 177 yards. He hits his tight end, Steve Buskey, who breaks loose for a few more. Buskey caught only 8 passes a year ago as a junior, but in his senior year, he's getting busy here on opening day. An 8-yard gain puts the ball down to the 24. Bama mounting its most impressive drive of the day. 2nd down, 2. Draw play. Houston, the fullback, over the 20. Down to the 10-yard line. Check it. It's Terrence Lynch, 45, who backs up 35, Martin Houston. And the Tide rolls again down to the 12-yard line.
Well, they had to take Rico Francis out of there. He was just running out of juice. Number 45 is a true freshman out of Athens, Georgia, and Brad Culpepper. And Terrence Lynch just pops it in the hole.
Lynch, 6'1", 224, out of Hazelwood High School, Town Creek, Alabama. He is a horse. First down at the 12. And that time it's Houston who just checked back in. He slants his way just inside the 10-yard line.
Most of these youngsters from Vanderbilt have been on the field all afternoon. And that's got to be taking its toll about now. Right now, defensively, you're just thinking about rip and scratch, try to pull it out, try to intercept it, try to do something. You know, Alabama trying to put this game on ice, trying to get it into the end zone.
Second down and 7. Barker, who's 10 for 13 this half, sacked. 99. Tony Cates, the medical transfer from Air Force. He had diabetes, and you can't fly a jet with that medical situation, so he did not have to sit out while transferring from the Air Force Academy to Vanderbilt.
Great arm over move. Good sack by Cates, his second sack, but great coverage by Robbie Young. You don't see this, but Robbie Young was all over Curtis Brown. Barker had no place to go with the ball. Cates got in his face.
3rd and 13 for the Tide. Draw play. Lassett. He got lassoed around the foot. Just unwilling to let go was Gary Rogers. And a couple of big defensive plays by the Commodores, forcing Bama into a field goal situation. And this is a big one because if Proctor can execute, then the touchdown and the 2-point conversion cannot tie the game. This for an 11-point lead. It'll be a 32-yarder right in the middle of the goalposts. He's 3 for 4 so far. And that's a chip shot the way he's going. Alabama increases the lead to 11. That young man has scored 12 of them, make it 13 with the extra point. 7:42 to go. Bama now leads 19-8. On the campus of University of Alabama here in Tuscaloosa, inside Bryant-Denny Stadium, tight ball game, and Vanderbilt needs to get a good drive going here. 7:42, but Tim, they cannot eat up too much time in doing so. They need 2 scores. Proctor's kick will fall at the 7. Tony Jackson. They've had good returns last couple of times, but he can only get out to maybe the 18-yard line before he's bumped out by Hamp Green, a backup kicker, helping out on special teams.
Actually, they gave Proctor a rest that time, got Green onto the field, trying to get him some exposure. He's a backup kicker. No, they can't take too much time doing it, but that's the only way they're going to get it done unless they get a long run. They've got to stick with what they have.
Marcus Wilson only 2 of 8 in the air, 29 yards, couple of interceptions.
Too early to panic, right?
Yeah, but it's not too early to hurry. Wilson will throw. He's hit as he lets it go, and he's lucky that one was not intercepted because of the hit. It was underthrown. John Copeland with the hit, and Tommy Johnson, had he seen it sooner, could have picked it off.
They're trying to run Clarence Civilian down the sideline, pump fake, reload. Hello, John. John is back and he's mad. You guys knocked me around. I don't like that. It's good to see him back up in action. I mean, it's good for us, his mom and dad. Well, maybe that's good for, not as good for Vanderbilt, right? Or Marcus Wilson.
2nd and 10. Clock stop with 7.5 minutes to go. Wilson a deep drop. And he's lucky that one wasn't picked off, as Clarence Civilian really had to reach with Derek Oden all over him. There's Derek Oden, the senior out of Tuscaloosa.
Those linebackers, they like to play the run. He's in good shape. A Civilian came underneath. Derek, that wasn't your fault.
I had 6, man. If I catch that one, he tells his teammates. And now Vanderbilt faced 3rd and 10 from their own 19. Here they come again. And down he goes. away as the Tide rolls in for its 5th sack of the day.
Okay, there's hurry up for you. Copeland. He just doesn't really have time to get set. Now he's back there. He looks downfield and he sees these big guys with red jerseys coming after him. And he tries to get out of there and he just cannot escape. Curry's fighting and pushing. Royce Love doing a nice job keeping Andre Royal out of there, but it caves in.
Anderson at midfield to receive the kick. Lawrence goes with a low line drive and he hammers it back at the 35. Anderson had to stop his motion at the 30-yard line, and then he'll get about 11 yards, maybe 12, back on the return. That was a long kick. Darrell Griffin on the coverage, a 52-yard punt. 6:32 to go. Bama has the ball back and leads by 11. Welcome back to Tuscaloosa. 6:32 to go. Bama with the ball, leading by 11, and down to the field. Bob Kessler.
Time's running out for the Commodores, and the last series is going to be crucial if Vanderbilt's going to be able to come back and win the game. They had challenged the offensive lineman to pass protect, give Marcus Wilson some time. Obviously, it didn't work as Vanderbilt came and put a lot of pressure on Wilson and forced, of course, the sack. Vanderbilt had to punt, and now let's see if Vanderbilt can get the ball back and if they still have a shot to win this game.
Chris Symington, the offensive line coach of Vanderbilt, having to change his approach, Tim, as they were rush blocking most of the day.
Exactly. Chris is used to play at Colorado for Jerry. He's from Evanston, Illinois.
1st and 10 for the Tide. They're not going to come out running. Barker pumping a couple of times, escaping, and then it's incomplete as he was looking for Sherman Williams.
Now, you know I like to point out good job. Well, maybe you don't know this. Let me tell you. I like to point out good jobs by the defensive backs. Now, that time, they tried to get Robbie Young again on a little out and up. And he read it perfectly, and that's what Barker was looking for, and it wasn't there, and then he started scrambling around. And he's got good feet, and he's very elusive for a quarterback, isn't he?
I live in the same town with a guy you used to practice against, Howard Twilley, and he told me to watch out for your DB phrases throughout the game. Draw play. 35, Houston, there he goes. He's across midfield, and he's down to the Vanderbilt 40-yard line or so. Martin Houston, built close to the ground. He goes 5'10", 235.
Larry Kirksey, who's a running back coach at Alabama, must be running this guy through the tires or something. Look at this. This is pretty nifty. Stop. Change directions. Accelerate, kind of. Change the ball in the other hand. All right. Looking good. Looking good. Uh-oh. Started to look a little bit like a bull at the end. But great job by Martin Houston.
1st down at the 40. Clock is running. 6 minutes to go. A little quick opener as Terrence Lynch was handed the ball quickly by Jay Barker. This is a eat-up-the-clock drive by the Crimson Tide. 19-8 the score. DiNardo needs a big play. He's screaming to his defense for a timeout, and that will be the first timeout he's used here in the second half. So each team will have a couple remaining with 5:41 to go.
Jerry DiNardo, National Assistant Coach of the Year back in 1990, trying to give his team a rest while he gives them some information. Trying to instill in him the same kind of attitude that was instilled by him by old boy at Notre Dame, Ara Parseghian. He was just a little lineman, 190 pounds, went to high school for a 5th year to build up, and then eventually turned into an All-American lineman at Notre Dame. His brother, of course, Larry, is an All-American in 69 and 70. But you can see a difference in the Vanderbilt posture, so to speak. A difference in the defense in terms of how they react to adversity, because they had a ton of it in the first half.
That's where it all starts. If you're going to build a championship team, that's what they did last year. And they gave up 208 yards on the ground, but were stingy through the air. Second best in the league at 161. And their work cut out for them here. 2nd and 8 for the Tide at the 39. A fumble on the exchange, and Barker just has to pounce on it to keep possession.
A loss of 3.
And maybe after the little lull there, a little lapse in concentration by Gene Stallings' offense, and He can't be happy about that. That's like giving Vanderbilt a free timeout, stopping the clock momentarily, and now they'll get things set up again as the clock will move with 5:20. David Palmer still wears the Bama baseball cap.
He had a little off the field incident, and I'm sure that Gene is trying to reinforce in his memory that what he did is something that he shouldn't do again. And if you do it, you don't play.
3 wide receivers. Here they come. Parker in trouble, and they've got him back inside the 50. The ball was fumbled. And evidently it was down because obviously, as we said earlier, you can't advance a fumble this year. But the ball was whistled dead. Shelton Quarles came up from left outside linebacker to put a big hit.
It was kind of hard to see what was going on there. Alabama punting it away.
4th and 24. They have to kick it, and that was a rather risky return by Jeff Brothers. But Vanderbilt will get it just outside their own 25.
It's Quarles coming up the outside, and it's Gerald Collins streaking up the middle. It gets him out of his rhythm. Now Quarles throws him to the ground, and the ball comes out after he's down. Well, every once in a while we'll throw in a mystery replay like that.
Just to keep you alert.
Right.
But that's something that can be a game-breaking play this year. If that ball had been fumbled before he hit the ground, that's a live football.
You bet. Tom and Dave done a great job down there. Cameraman doing wonderful. Thanks for all your help.
We'll see if Vanderbilt can come up with something good on offense. Draw play. Tony Jackson out across the 30. But the clock will run on. He didn't quite get enough to move the change and stop the clock momentarily. And the clock runs down to 4 minutes as Derek Willem checks in, a backup wingback. Eric Weir has left. Vanderbilt has to open things up here if they go for the win. Wilson will keep it. Nothing on the right side. He goes off left tackle. And he was smothered there by 56, Derek Odin, the right inside linebacker. What about it, Tim? Vanderbilt looks like they're just mounting a nice long drive here.
Well, if you can only run slow, that means you can't run fast. And I really think that we saw their passing attack the last time out. They do better on play action first down. They don't do quite as well yet in passing situations.
Curry over the line of scrimmage claiming he was drawn off.
The last series, they got into their hurry-up offense and lost 8 yards. And, I mean, that's been pretty much the result of throwing the ball all afternoon.
Eric Curry, encroachment, 5 yards, out to the 40 it goes. That stopped the clock with 3:24 to go.
Curry's going to be a great one as time goes on. He is already a significant presence on the field.
1st and 5. Draw play. Tony Jackson. Crimson chasing him and getting him in the backfield. Sam Shade up from cornerback.
Jackson at right end.
It is a hot day. The wet towels have been used all day long. Tough day to play the game on opening day. You're still getting your legs in your wind for that first time out of the year. 80-degree, 80% humidity conditions in Tuscaloosa. Clock with 2:40 to go, 2nd and 10. Wilson passing only 2 for 10 as he drops back. Steps up, gets away, but not far enough away from John Copeland. 8 sacks now. 8 tackles, excuse me, for John Copeland.
And I think that he got to the line of scrimmage on this one, but Copeland comes around the outside. Look at this explosion off the top. Tom Vincent fights him off. Wilson trying to find some open room, but Copeland isn't done yet. He comes around and nails him from behind.
That's not fair when guys that big are that quick. Make draw, play action, a little toss-up. Oh! Intercepted by Alabama. Michael Rogers, he's trying to go all the way. Touchdown, Crimson Tide. Rogers, a sophomore out of Laverne, Alabama. And that will just about do it with 1:50 to go.
This is a play that worked earlier for Vanderbilt. Marcus tries to flip it underneath. Michael Rogers very alert. Now watch this. Lemansky Hall on Marcus Wilson. Here comes Lemansky, number 11. Courageous effort by Marcus Wilson, but Rogers is into the end zone.
Michael Proctor, the extra point, blocked. Live ball still. And finally downed out at the 27-yard line. Alabama will settle for 6 and a 25-8 lead with 1:50 to go. A 36-yard interception return for the touchdown by Michael Rogers.
Another turnover for the Alabama defense and another touchdown. Well, those guys got to be happy. The defensive coach at Alabama, coordinated by Bill Oliver, and then Jeff Rousey, and the interior linebackers. Ellis Johnson coaches the outside guys, and Mike DuBose, who was a player here, as was Bill Oliver. Bill Oliver was on a 61 national championship team. Mike DuBose on the national championship team in the early 70s. A lot of tradition. We went through the museum last night, and they've got a lot of things to put in the museum as far as that goes.
Bear Bryant's office is in there. A film on the great coach.
And the red phone. What was the red phone for in Bear Bryant's office? This is a question. If you know the answer, dial 1-800 Rayburn.
Of course, we don't want to sell Vanderbilt short. They started football 2 years before Alabama. You know, we're talking about this 100-year stuff. Vanderbilt started in 1890. Tony Jackson at his 10. And out to maybe the 24-yard line. The Commodores need a miracle. In fact, they need a couple of miracles here. In the last minute 45, they trail 25-8 as Marcus Wilson goes out for another series. Wilson threw the ball, 51% efficiency last year, only 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He's not quite the multi-dimensional quarterback they would like him to be. But you don't always face a defense like this every week either.
When you're looking into belly buttons when you look downfield, it's tough to put the ball on the mark. And they lost Kevin Brothen, who is a center for them, and Bobby Craycraft, a tackle, and they're trying to replace those guys in that front line. They went after a lot of youngsters in recruiting, and they've got some great players, as you pointed out, a lot of true freshmen backing up. And so if things would have continued as they started out for in the first half for Jerry DiNardo, I mean, I'm sure he would have been disgusted with their performance, but he's got to feel good about the way they came back and fought in the second half on offense. And defense, they hung in there the whole way.
Pete Stallings, his team will travel up to Birmingham next week to take on Southern Miss. Arkansas at Little Rock the week after, and they will go hog wild over there with the prospect of an Alabama coming to town. Then Louisiana Tech at home, homecoming, South Carolina in here on October 3rd at Tulane, and then from there on out, it's Tennessee, Ole Miss, LSU, Mississippi State, and the finale, the great one, Auburn up in Birmingham. Minute 45 to go, 25-8, Alabama leads it, first down for the Commodores. Look out. He got the screen off. It's caught by Royce Love, and he will get out just over the 25-yard line. The tide was rolling in, and Wilson just did get rid of it.
But London and Copeland and Curry all got there at the same time. He couldn't have seen where that one was going. Marcus Wilson has put on a courageous performance this afternoon.
Minute 15 to go. Wilson, a low throw, incomplete. Tony Jackson, the intended receiver.
And here comes 3 rested defensive linemen for Alabama. they're not even sweating yet, and the guys at Vanderbilt are going.
They're down in 9. 1:11 to go. That one was tipped, and it falls incomplete. Some of those big linemen and belly buttons that my partner was talking about, and Antonio London at 6'3", and a good leaper was there. Helping him out too was Jason Milner, 92, out of Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Did not play. This guy's a fascinating story. Did not play last year. He had a heart ailment. The medication did not allow him to play football. He's back playing now and getting a little fun playing time here in the last minute 6 of the home opener.
And Mike DeBose was wondering whether he was going to play him or not, and he's got him in there.
4th and 9. Commodores' last gasp. And it ends in a quarterback tackle, a fumble. Commodores get it back with Tom Vincent, the right tackle, recovering. Lemansky Hall caused the fumble. The ball will go over, and Vanderbilt will head to Nashville 0-1. That Bama defense, number 3 in the nation last year, strong again today. But Jerry DiNardo's defense has nothing at all to be ashamed of. They kept this from being a blowout today after the offense coughed up the ball 5 times in the first half.
You know, the offense kept trying to throw him in the cellar, but they fought back. So he has to be happy with that, the way they responded to some difficult situations.
Backup quarterback Brian Bergdorf is in there, a redshirt freshman out of Cedartown, Georgia, a former high school All-American there. He threw for 4,600 yards and 39 scores in his career, and rushed for almost 1,200 yards and scored 22 times.
Sherman Williams also in the game at tailback, and
a little look into the future here for the Tide.
You bet. The sophomore that carried the ball 12 times last year.
Well, it's time to get the coach and the prodigal son together here in Palmer, talking it over with Gene Stallings. Maybe we'll see him in uniform next week.
Well, Gene's been around young men for a long time, and he knows that probably none of those guys that wear helmets are perfect, and it's just a matter of teaching them a lesson. Especially when you're a good player. You can't have one set of rules for the good guys and one set of rules for the guys that aren't as good at performers.
Well, Tim, some folks may look at the score of this game and say Alabama taught Vanderbilt a lesson today, but that will not be true. The Commodores had a chance to get back into the game when they mounted a 14-play, all-rushing touchdown drive in the third quarter, got the 2-point conversion to make it 16-8. But they couldn't sustain any offense, and Gene Stallings' Crimson Tide leaves the field, a 25-8 winner with a 1-0 record in 1992. Vanderbilt, nothing to be ashamed of, but they've got some work to do in the film room when that offense gets together on Monday.
Things were going well until they tried to throw that pass.
By the way, Bob Kessling is our man on the sideline, and we've got some post-game activities coming up. So don't go away. We'll take a break here and come back and talk more about the Alabama season-opening win over Vanderbilt. Back to Tuscaloosa in a moment.
The SEC Game of the Week was brought to you by Lowe's, helping add value to your home. And by Nationwide Insurance. Check the yellow pages for a nationwide agent nearest you.
70,000 plus heading home happy, with the exception of a couple of hundred Vanderbilt fans. They have nothing to hang their heads about. Their team hung tough till the closing minutes, and it was a 25-8 Alabama win here in the home opener at Bryant-Denny Stadium. A big story early in the game. In fact, the big question mark as we looked ahead to this one was, how would the freshman place kicker for Alabama do? Michael Proctor out of Pelham, Alabama, 60-yard field goal in high school. He was perfect in extra points, but it's a little different than playing in Tuscaloosa on Saturday. We found out today, and Bob Kessling is with the freshman kicker.
Michael, congratulations. You got ice water in the veins today, huh?
Today it looked like it. I'm just coming out next week and hopefully I can do the same thing.
Just rhythm, confidence?
Yeah, it was just like practice out there today.
You hit the long one, though, too. You're just a little bit short on that one.
Yeah, it was just a little bit short. Had a little trouble with the footing and stuff. Hit the ground a little bit, but I think if I hadn't hit the ground, I had the distance.
Okay, no jitters at all out there today?
No, not really. It's just like practice out there. Just the atmosphere is like practice. I really didn't pay attention to the crowd or the other team at all.
I guess today also not a lot of wind, not a lot of conditions to affect a kicker.
It was a beautiful day today. Sun's out, no wind. It's a great day to kick.
Good to get the first out of the way, huh?
It is.
All right, congratulations, Michael.
All right, thank you.
Alabama's undefeated quarterback, Jay Barker. Congratulations.
Thank you. Just glad to get this one under our belt. The first game of the season is always the one you're kind of worried about, not sure what you're going to do offensively and whatever. We had a lot of expectations for us this year, and we started out pretty good offensively. I wish we would have got more points on the board, touchdowns-wise, instead of having to kick field goals. But we'll correct some things, work on the plus territories, we get toward the end zone, and try to work out on those things. But it's good to win the first one. Get that get a little bit more confidence, what you're doing.
You had the long drive and you had to have it, didn't you?
Yeah, sure did. Just all day, the offensive line did a tremendous job protecting me all day. The receivers did an excellent job of catching the ball. And it's just a total offensive work, just a total offensive effort. And just glad to finally have this one over.
Jay, keep it going.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Jay Barker. Jay Barker, the Alabama quarterback. He leads the Tide to the victory today over Vanderbilt.
All right, Bob, thank you very much. The $1 Million Band is continuing its post-game celebration here in Tuscaloosa. Tim Foley, based on what you saw here today, what about that preseason prediction that Alabama would be the best team in the SEC Western Division?
Well, I think that they've got the defense for it. I don't think there's any question about that. And as Gene pointed out in his office yesterday, that's what took them to victory several times last year, was the prowess on defense, and that certainly is still there. Nobody's going to score a lot of points on them. The only team that really got into them last year was Florida, and that was the second half. Bill Oliver, the defensive quarterback, talked about 60 minutes in every game. And as I pointed out, the only game that really got away from them on defense was Florida. They gave up 30 points in the second half. They're going to have to make some progress on offense, but I think they have the talent. They have a hard-working guy in Barker that is a good enough passer to carry him along, and they've got a nifty fullback in Martin Houston and 3 good running backs, and they've got the speed on the outside to really create havoc. Understand, we saw this team without really their number one weapon, and that's David Palmer, who a defensive coordinator's got to be aware of him wherever he is on the field. And having him on one side and Lee on the other side is going to do a lot for opening up Lee. So I think they're right. I think you'll see them there at the end.
Florida, though, projected out of the Eastern Division as the best team in the league. But today, opening day belongs to Alabama here in Tuscaloosa. They beat Vanderbilt by a score of 25-8. More of our post-game activities coming up. We'll have more from Tuscaloosa after we pause for a word from your local stations. Day. And so that got us to halftime with Alabama leading 16-0, but Vandy would mount a 14-play drive, all of them rushes that culminated in a Royce Love touchdown run.
They had lost Carlos Thomas to a wrist injury, and it was 3rd and 5, and they pop it up inside with the fullback, first collegiate touchdown and first touchdown of the year for Vandy.
They added a 2-point conversion by Eric Lewis, and it was 16-8 in the third quarter. Plenty of time left in the game, and Alabama with that Vanderbilt offense giving one up again. And watch number 52, Michael Rogers.
Well, they were blitzing him on this one, and Wilson tries to dump it off blindly to the screen back, and you often have to do that as a quarterback. And Michael Rogers, only a sophomore, but plays with much more intelligence than a guy that only has 1 year experience, sniffed it out and picked it off, and Lemansky Hall put a block on Marcus Wilson, and 6 points for Alabama.
All day long, the Alabama defense was tough, and Eric Curry, many individual efforts, and that one was outstanding. There you see John Copeland, who chipped in big fashion. James Gregory, the nose tackle, who helped out. You saw a flash shot of George Teague, 13, who made some big plays out of the secondary early in the game as Bama continues that great defensive tradition. Final numbers are added up now. The first downs were even. Vanderbilt got a bunch of them during their 2 long drives, one of which resulted in a fumble, one of which a touchdown resulted. Rushing yards, they outgained Alabama. The Tide had a big plus in the passing department, but really the total offense not that much different today, Tim Foley. And the time of possession, most of that for Vandy was racked up in the third quarter. A lot of times time of possession doesn't mean that much, but in that quarter they had it for 11 minutes.
Yeah, when you're Vandy, it means a lot. You know, you're right. Sometimes it doesn't mean much, but when you've got the ball, that means they don't have it, and that's good for their defense. I really feel as though they stuck with their game plan. They could have gotten out of it earlier in the third quarter, but they didn't. They stuck with their game plan, and they did not really deviate from that until those 3 plays in the fourth quarter with 7 minutes to go, and they got into their passing game and lost 8 downs. They just can't do that yet. Again, at least not against this defense, because it's one of the top defenses in the country.
Head coaches are a lot like CEOs. They want to see that bottom line, and you saw the bottom line, the 6 turnovers, and that was the ugliest stat of the day for Vanderbilt, which really kept them from a chance to possibly win the football game. We have a player of the game from each team today, and for the Vanderbilt Commodores, we gave it to one of their defensive guys because they played so well today. Rico Francis from that right outside linebacker spot, a 6-foot junior out of Louisville, Kentucky. And it's a big story for him because he made the move from strong safety to linebacker in the spring, and he came up big many times today. Michael Proctor, the freshman kicker, 4 out of 5, including field goals today of 32 yards after he had stroked it through from 46, 43, and 42. Doesn't look like he misses the tee much, huh?
No, he doesn't. And as their coaching staff pointed out and Hootie Ingram pointed out, he's just a real relaxed kid that stands around in practice, kicks a little bit, but he's not hyper, you know. And so it's going to be a real addition to this Alabama scheme of things. They're used to a good kicker here in terms of Van Tiffen for 3 or 4 years, John Doyle for the same amount of time, and now there's been a little lapse. Well, you know, that question mark is no longer a question mark for Gene Stallings. He's got a fine kicker in Michael Proctor.
Boy, and that can take some of the pressure off other areas of the game as well. Tide wins it 25-8. We've got more coming up from Tuscaloosa on Jefferson Pilots coverage of the SEC. Alabama beats Vanderbilt today 25-8. Next week on Jefferson Pilot Sports, we'll travel to Gainesville, Florida. They've enclosed the end zone at that Florida field, and it's a crazy place for opposing teams to play. Bill Curry's Kentucky Wildcats get the assignment next week, Tim. And your thoughts on that Florida team and what we may see a week from today as we go down to Gainesville?
Well, you better get some of that hot ointment and put it on your neck. It's going to be like watching a tennis match. You know, the ball is going to be in the air. Shane Matthews in contention for the Heisman Trophy, and that's Steve Spurrier, of course, an ex-Heisman Trophy guy, would like nothing more than to coach a Heisman Trophy candidate into the trophy, and they're going to be throwing the ball around a lot. Now, Kentucky is, whether they're going to be patient enough to lay back and let them do that, as Vanderbilt did here this afternoon, I don't know. In the past, they've blitzed them, they've attacked them, and that isn't, you know, it's my opinion, that's not the right way to deal with that. You have to do what Vanderbilt did here this afternoon. If you're outmanned, they're going to move the ball on you. You got to be patient. Because if you start going after them all the time, especially a team like Florida, who's got really a pro offense in the sense of picking up blitzes and recognizing blitzes, they'll really pick you apart. And so they're going to have to be patient next Saturday. They gave them everything they could handle last year, which indicates that hopefully it's going to be a good game this year. But the defense will be a big part of it again. And on offense, Kentucky with Pookie Jones can make anything happen. He's just really an exciting player to watch.
Florida is the only SEC team not playing today. We, of course, had Vanderbilt and Alabama here. Arkansas is in Fayetteville to host the Citadel. Auburn is in Oxford to play Ole Miss. That's a great opener for the Rebels. Georgia is playing at South Carolina. The strains of 2001 will be filling that city tonight, and they will be going crazy when their Gamecocks take the field as a member of the Southeastern Conference. Kentucky at Florida next week, hosting Central Michigan of the Mid-American Conference today in Lexington. LSU is in Baton Rouge to take on Texas A&M. Mississippi State is at Texas in Austin. And Tennessee is playing Southwest Louisiana tonight in Knoxville. So that's what the other SEC teams are doing on September 5th, the opening Saturday of the college football season. So the scene at Tuscaloosa as the folks have filed out of Bryant-Denny Stadium. Some of the ACC teams were in action today. There's that Citadel, Arkansas score, and that has to be a heck of a surprise over in Fayetteville, as Jack Crow's team has been held scoreless by the Citadel in the first half at Razorback Stadium. One of those Mid-American Conference teams, a bit stubborn, playing at Clemson as Ball State's Cardinals hang tough, but they're down by 2 touchdowns now in the fourth quarter to the 13th ranked Clemson Tigers. Ohio State has scored a touchdown. They trailed 13-10 in the third quarter, and in the fourth now, the 17th ranked Buckeyes lead Louisville 17-13. John Cooper trying to survive in his season opener. He's been under a little fire up there, and he needs to win about 9 or 10 games this year to keep the Buckeye faithful off his back.
What is a head coach under fire? Anybody that's on the sideline during a game,
anytime he steps on the field. Georgia Southern leading Florida A&M. That's a field goal advantage at halftime of that game. North Carolina has led that one throughout. North Carolina finally holds on to beat Wake Forest 35-17. Gene Stallings is having his post-game press conference. Let's peek in on that for a few minutes as he talks about his team's win over Vanderbilt today.
Palmer, coach, if you don't see him play.
Yeah, that's David and I had discussed this a long time ago, and it just, I felt like that he needed to miss his first game, and I hated to do it, but I thought that was in the best interest of David. Here's a guy that's a great competitor, and you can't imagine how badly he wanted to play, and yet I thought he handled it extremely well. He practiced all week just like he was going to get to, but we had discussed it, and hopefully it's over as far as I'm concerned. I felt like that was a pretty severe punishment, really, and I'm glad to get. I set myself up for a pretty bad situation. I realized we'd lost the game. I got a little second guessing, and probably get some second guessing anyway. But for you guys' information, it's a whole lot easier to make a suggestion than it is a decision. So all of you people have been suggesting. I saw that pass out.
Tell him, Gene.
Well, a little peek into the press conference as he addresses the David Palmer situation. And, Tim, that was right on with what you commented on in the fourth quarter, that it's not a matter of teaching the young man a lesson or punishing him. It's going man-to-man and letting him know what the story is.
That's exactly. And that there are consequences for every action.
Well, that'll just about do it. 25-8, Vanderbilt falls at the hands of the Crimson Tide here today. The final score, 25-8, Alabama. This is Bob Carpenter and Bob Kessling, along with Tim Foley, and the executive producer of Jefferson Pilot Sports is Jimmy Rayburn. Our coordinating producer for SEC football is Wendy Voigt. Today's game has been produced by Thomas V. Hewitt and directed by Dave Burchett. And we'd like to thank the rest of our fine crew here in Tuscaloosa today. Alabama got the early field goals from the freshman Michael Proctor. Their defense did the job throughout the day, and they held on to fight off a stubborn Vanderbilt team, winning it 25-8 in the season opener here in Tuscaloosa today. The Crimson Tide will take on Southern Mississippi in Birmingham next week, while the Commodores come home for their opener. The Duke Blue Devils of the ACC will come calling at Nashville's Vanderbilt Stadium next week. And be sure and join us next week from Gainesville, Florida, with the Kentucky Wildcats visiting the Florida Gators. Jefferson Pilot Sports personnel outfitted by Champion Products, and you've been watching Jefferson Pilot Sports exclusive coverage of Southeastern Conference football.